Oh no. Well, wait. We gotta get a new version of that. It's not just my face.
Yeah,
and let
right?
me scoot over. And you scoot over too. You're too close to me. Frankly,
Oh, you mean
Stephanie.
scoot this way?
No, I mean scoot. No, I guess I meant closer to me.
This way?
Yeah, that way.
That looks good?
That looks great.
Okay.
Scooch.
Awesome.
And then we are ready for the show. This looks good.
There we go.
This feels good. You know what? Let's go ahead and try resetting though with the 1 and see how that feels.
Okay.
Hello, Holden Wook.
Hi!
And move the microphone a little closer. I think you know what this is I've got too much negative space. I'm going to do a little bit of this.
Oh.
A little bit of that.
Whoa.
There we go. How's that? How about this? Look, guys, we kind of rushed into tonight's stream. It's What Up, Wedge? What up, Pathos? What up, Holden Wook? We got a full house tonight. Hello, everybody. Hey, it's our first stream in a few weeks. It is now 7 p.m., slightly after, and no matter where you are in a video store, the online hangout for people who miss talking about movies in person with each other. We're so happy to have you guys here. I'm one of your 2 hosts, but, I mean, I think all of you know this, but who knows? I'm Protextor, Adam for short.
And I'm Thoreson.
Stephanie. Comma Stephanie. Dewey Decimal. What up, Munson? Jay.
Hey,
yes.
Munson Jay.
Happy Tuesday, and obviously, let's get this out of the way. May the 4th be with all of you.
May the 4th
always.
Be with you.
We realized that our movie club pick this week, The Hidden Fortress, we did not plan this.
Oh, this was just like so,
So serendipitous that the movie we're going to talk about on May the 4th is The Hidden Fortress. Obviously, if you watched it, a huge influence on Star Wars. We'll get to that a little later. Mm-hmm. We also had Avalon from 2001 as a movie club pick. I'm going to rip this Band-Aid off. We did not watch it. Please don't hate us. I am going to watch it this coming week so that we have stuff to share about it. But I was out of town for a straight week with nothing but hotel TV and no on-demand movies or DVDs. So I couldn't watch it. And we could only watch one movie, and we picked Hidden Fortress because it was longer, to be honest.
And I have no excuse other than the fact that I went down a television rabbit hole this past week, so...
Well, you could have watched it on your own, but typically we watch the things together.
It's true.
So, I'm sorry, Pathos. Oh, what up, Great Job Nerds? Thank you for your subscription as well. What up? And yes, I'm sorry, Pathos, but we hear you, we see you, and we will be back. That's an inside joke from a sitcom we're doing. That's why she laughed. But seriously, we do. We are going to watch it. We are very excited about it. We simply did not have the time since I've been out of town for a full week. Cool. And I know, Great Job Nerds, you texted me this earlier, or maybe I saw it on social, but happy birthday to Alan.
Happy birthday, Alan.
Just to fill everybody else in so that you can be part of the family, I'm just going to really quickly see if I can find a picture of Alan. I think this is what you posted earlier. He's the sweetest little dog in the world.
Oh.
Look at that gorgeous photo of
that.
Alan. And happy 8th birthday. Oh, our dog.
The video store dog, June, most of you know, just perked up because Alan is one of her best friends.
One of her best friends. She heard his name and she's staring at us with her ears up now like, is he coming over? Soon, honey. A true beauty. Happy 8th birthday to Alan, a good boy indeed. And thank you, Holden Wook, for the subscription. Now, if you'll notice in the chat, Great Job Nerds and Holden Wook have both subscribed with Prime. That is because you get a free subscription if you're a Prime member. And, if you're watching a movie talk show, you're probably a Prime member. So, subscribe to us. This channel, UltraLoop, is kind of a variety channel. Tuesday night is our slot when we talk about movies, but there is everything from streams of retro games to new games to co-op play to family streams to sports talk to Oscars talk on other nights of the week. I think we do something every night of the week, perhaps not Monday because that was supposed to be me doing a retro game stream, and I am bringing that back, so stay tuned. But as far as I know, Tuesday through Sunday, tune into UltraLoop for something good.
Yeah.
I'll just break down how the show goes real quick. I think all of y'all are regulars, and we love having you here. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit for some more visibility. If you are joining us, stretching out. If you're joining us for the first time, the show generally breaks down into 3 parts. Part 1, what did you watch? That is where we talk about what we watched, want to know what you watched. We've been doing a fun thing lately where we try and pick a double feature pick for everything that we're talking about, which has proven to be a fun experiment. Sometimes we'll ask you, what's your favorite X kind of movie, and have a little talk.
Yeah, part 1, excuse me, part 1 kind of feels like it sort of is a little more free-flowing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go off on tangents. Sometimes we ask random questions about childhood favorites or, subgenre of a subgenre of a subgenre.
Bloop, bloop.
Bloop, bloop. And as always, this show is extremely interactive, so the chat is an integral part of the show. We encourage you to participate.
Yes, please do participate. We love hearing your words. Just don't be a weirdo, and don't be judgmental of others. And when I say don't be a weirdo, you guys know the kind of Twitch weirdos I'm talking about. And we mercifully have been pretty absent, those people.
Yeah.
But, if you're a new person, maybe, don't say a bunch of sexually explicit comments in a row, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Generally, our only rule is be polite to each other, and let's talk about movies and not shame each other for opinions or shame movies we haven't seen. Second part of the show is new arrivals. That's where we'll unbox or unpack anything that we got in the past week. Tonight's new arrivals is particularly robust because while I was out of town, unable to watch movies,
I was bringing in a lot of mail from the doorstep.
And she brought in the mail while I hit up every single thrift store in Austin that I used to go to.
Yeah.
So it's actually a lot.
Twofold.
And I had a buddy, I don't think he's a viewer of the stream, but shout out to Mr. Emotion on Twitter, DM'd me and said, hey, I heard you're in town and like VHS, and let me swing by and get a bunch of free VHS from his house. That was really nice. So some of those too. And then we'll end the show with our movie club, which is, again, super interactive. We watched The Hidden Fortress. If you watched Avalon, please share your thoughts, but we will also be doing our homework in this next week.
Yes.
So Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, which wraps up our April. And in April, we concentrated every single week on Japanese cinema. We really went all over the map from time period to genre to film style, and I think we covered a lot of bases.
And what a great month it was.
It was a really wonderful month. So
really wonderful.
Even beyond Hidden Fortress, I'm excited to just talk about everyone's takeaways from watching Japanese film all month. Mm-hmm. Here, how you were saying it's kind of more loosey-goosey at the top. I kind of like to think of it like this. Like, when the show starts, it's like we unlock the door, the video store's open, we're chilling at the counter, y'all come up, y'all like, hey, what's up? What's going on today? Oh, did you check out this new one? Oh, I just watched it. Yeah, that's good. We're hanging out, we're vibing. Mm-hmm. And then new arrivals is us being like, hold on, I gotta unpack this stuff and get it out on the floor so people can rent it. And you're like, what'd you get? And we're like, oh, let me show you. And then after that, we close the store and we go to the back and we make popcorn and we sit around a round table and we go, okay, movie club, guys. So what did everyone think?
We love that breakdown.
We love it. Okay, and we got some great shit already in the chat.
Yes.
A lot of y'all had 2 weeks, we did too. I didn't watch 2 weeks worth of movies. Again, 1 week was kind of out for me. But really excited to talk. And I'm glad that you like the double feature part, Munson. It's been been a really fun thing. I think just also keeps the brain sharp to be able to draw comparisons. Okay. Pathos. Honestly, can't even remember. Today has been awful. I'm sorry, Pathos.
Sorry, Pathos.
That sucks. I'm sorry we couldn't at least give you the gift of being able to talk about Avalon. But I'm sorry today has been shitty. We'll hopefully distract from that.
Yeah.
As best we can. Wage watched a lot of movies with the movie-loving fam. Amazing. Yes, and also, thank you, Pathos. I'm going back a second, but Pathos wrote that when I was talking about that nonsense. Pathos, you are our savior, man, our own personal Jesus Christ. Because you are always there to boot out the weirdos and the trolls, and we really, really appreciate you having our back like that.
We do, 100%.
Okay. Well, do you want to hop in? Why don't we start with Munson?
Yeah,
seems like that's the first comment. I will have to remind myself of what we watched or what I watched. But let's slow down, chill, and... Oh, let me first really quickly say that one of the things I watched was Game Night and 30 Minutes or Less. Those were things that were on in the hotel, and I really liked Game Night. I will say.
It was fun. I watched that on a plane.
It came on HBO rather late, and I thought it was fun. And the line, I forget the guy who looks like Matt Damon. He was in Friday Night Lights, and he's the psycho in Breaking Bad. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah.
But he plays the cop, and he's got that line where he's like, 3 for 1, like about the bags of chips. He goes, 3 for 1? How can that be profitable for Frito-Lay? I just think that's really funny.
I feel like Game Night is a perfect movie to watch on a plane or in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm. And let's move right past it, because I think that, honestly, the Game Night and The Game would be a wonderful double feature. It's basically the same plot, but one is a comedy and one's not.
That's true. That's such a good double feature.
I think you could also do a really fun Game Night and Clue double feature.
Oh, I love that. And then you could play Clue.
You could play Clue as part of a game night after that.
Yeah.
I might need to kick the AC on in a second here.
It's a little warm in here.
It's a little warm. And we're not even in a real studio with lights. We have no excuse for being sweaty. Okay, cool. Well, let's jump in. Steph, what do you see here?
Let's see what we got going on. Okay.
You saw... And by the way, like, if we don't get to your chat comment, we're going to go back and we try to address every comment, especially ones that are what you watched. So we'll go in order that we get them. Ingrid Goes West. I haven't seen that one. You saw that in theater.
I saw that in theater. Yeah.
That was one you went to alone back when that was like something you did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean pre-pandemic. I don't mean pre-me.
Yeah, that's actually been one I've been wanting to rewatch. I feel like there was so much hype around it when I went to see it in theaters that maybe I was... It's not that I had any particular expectations. It's just that maybe I was like, my senses were heightened in a weird way. Does that make sense? Where you're not totally absorbing the movie. You're like half absorbing it, half analyzing it. Or like, to break that down even further, like you're watching the movie, but you're thinking about what is it about this movie that people are loving so much. You're like kind of dissecting it as it's unfolding.
I think it's really easy to do that with new releases that get a lot of hype as well.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Now the dog is dreaming, so if you hear adorable little whimper noises, rest assured she's fine. She's just having a cute dream over there.
She's probably dreaming about being at a birthday party for Alan.
I think so. Ingrid Goes West. So I get that, like, especially if something's been overhyped. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like everyone's responsible for how they go into things. Things have been overhyped for me, and I've had to forget that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard, though. And if you are thinking, what did other people see in this? If you're maybe a little later to the party, it can be distracting.
But all that to say is I really liked that movie. I found it to be, like, an enjoyable journey, and also not super typical. It's, like interesting commentary on social media for sure, and mental health, and the intersection of those two things. I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances were great. I haven't seen it since it was out in theaters, but that's what I remember thinking, that I liked the end because of sort of what it was trying to say about social media. No spoilies.
Do you think it would be a good double feature with The Social Dilemma, the documentary? Or would it be a better double feature with Fievel Goes West?
Fievel Goes West.
Ingrid Goes West, Fievel Goes West.
That would just be an adorable double feature. I think it would be a really, really interesting double feature with The Social Dilemma.
Can I tell you that, and I haven't seen Ingrid Goes West, but quick Fievel Goes West sidebar. Can I tell you that the scene where and I'm not going to remember the characters' names other than Fievel, the girl mouse is singing her little song, and the bad guy cat has a moment of humanity, catmanity, where he dances with her with his little hand.
Oh, yeah.
Makes me tear up every time.
Oh, I'm fully aware. You have Googled that scene. You've pulled it up on YouTube. Maybe 5 or 6 times on separate occasions.
What? That is such hyperbole.
Okay, I'm going to say...
one time.
Okay, 2 or 3.
I do not remember. Maybe 2 or 3 in the space of a week. Maybe I got a little
No,
fixated for a second.
No.
I don't think so.
But it is a great scene and it is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It is beautiful. The Big Sick we saw in theaters together.
Mm-hmm.
I loved The Big Sick.
Yeah, that was a great one.
I really thought it was, like, just a fantastic kind of, like, I don't know. It felt like a fresh rom-com, almost kind of like Nora Ephron style.
Yeah, and based on true story.
Right.
So.
About life kind of, I mean, here's the thing. The Big Sick is making me think of 6 Feet Under because it's kind of like this melodramatic love story, but it's mixed in with, like, familial dynamics, but also, like, the Big Sick, what, you know, the what do you call it? The turn in it is like a real life, like, oh shit, sometimes this bad stuff happens out of the blue.
Yeah.
And it stops. Maybe you're having a cute, fun time, or maybe you're embroiled in your own personal drama.
Yeah. And
then boom, something puts everything in perspective.
Yep.
I thought The Big Sick was wonderful. I'm having a hard time thinking what would be a good W feature with that. Why do I want to say Forgetting Sarah Marshall weirdly? But I feel like that's a little too...
I don't know what would be a good double feature. I mean, I feel like...
Sleepless in Seattle.
Any kind of, like, yeah.
Hospital rom-com?
While you were sleeping.
While you were sleeping is not Sleepless in Seattle. While you were sleeping, that's right.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Okay. You think about it. Can I really quickly also just always be my maybe? Hey, that is a smart idea for a double feature with Big Sick.
Always Be My Maybe is delightful.
That's one you watched. And Pathos, I did not know that the animators hid nude pictures in a scene. I would believe it because it takes place in the Wild West. But also, I know that in the 90s, there's so many urban myths about animators putting dirty things. I don't know why our generation in particular was so captured by this, but a few of them have been disproven. Like, so maybe that's urban legend, or also I would believe you if that was the case at the same time. But like everyone thought that in Lion King, it said sex.
In the death.
It says SFX because the special effects department was shouting out their workers. Aladdin was another one. No, Aladdin was, all good teenagers take off their clothes, which is not what Aladdin is saying. It's a mumbled line. And I think he's saying, good boy, Raja, good boy. And then The Little Mermaid, the priest boner, which I just don't really buy because it's so brazen.
Yeah.
There's a few of those. I think that as a kid I was more like, and now I'm like, I don't think so. The Rescuers thing was legit, huh? Well, I don't know. What's the Rescuers thing?
Who knows?
Scrolling. Speaking of being hit right in the feels, Munson, a nudie photo and a quick background shot. Well, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Time to rewatch The Rescuers. 5 on The Rescuers Down Under. Interesting. Man, I just want to rewatch all of these. I really do. I've been really wanting to rewatch some of the Disney Golden Age stuff because we got it on Blu-ray recently.
I would love to rewatch Five Goes West.
Me too.
Or Rescuers.
And I've never seen An American Tail, the first one. I only ever saw Five Goes West.
I don't even know if I have.
It's a sequel. It's a straight-to-video sequel, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it got theatrical. We'll look into that.
Okay, we've established that one of them has naked pictures.
What was... I don't even remember what I was going to say. Probably is okay.
Okay, where were we? Okay, Ingrid Goes West, The Big Sick, Hellfest.
Hellfest, which I don't know what Hellfest is.
I don't either.
Give it a quick goog. 2018. Oh, a slasher movie on Netflix. Hellfest.
Fun.
That seems fun. Oh, an evil carnival movie. Well, that sounds very fun.
Ooh, that does sound fun.
Let me just go ahead and pitch that Hellfest would be a good double feature with Carnival of Souls, which also takes place at a carnival. And it's a horror movie, but a 60s horror movie. Unstoppable. First of all, what did you think of Hellfest and Unstoppable? Those are two that I'm unfamiliar with.
Hustle and Flow I saw in theaters and have not seen it since.
Hustle and Flow had me as soon as it's that opening there's that amazing monologue of like where Terrence Howard is talking. I don't know, like his hoe. I don't know what to call her. He's talking her into a trip because she's like out of it, and he has this amazing slow monologue pulling out from Terrence Howard's face where he's like, "We don't live like dogs." I don't know. He's just Terrence Howard being full on fucking Terrence Howard, and then it pulls out, and they start driving, and some funk comes onto the soundtrack, and they do a freeze frame title card a la 70s movie, and from like 5 minutes into it, I was like...
I remember loving that movie. Now, I've only seen it once, but I think for several years after I saw it, I would refer to it as one of my favorite movies. I don't know if that holds up.
Hustle and Flow kicks ass.
I remember it kicking ass, and I remember walking away thinking, that movie kicked ass. It's one of my favorites. But that's when it came out, so... 2006? Yeah.
I love that movie. Like, I really want to watch. Craig Brewer did a new one pretty recently. I want to watch, and I like Black Snake Moan too.
His follow-up, yeah,
it was much more like experimental character-wise. But like
that one too.
In terms of Rags to Riches, and Hustle and Flow, I feel like Hustle and Flow and 8 Mile, like there's your like, they're both basically Rocky with hip hop. Mm-hmm. That'd be amazing. You've never seen 8 Mile, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, if you were a white rapper who was 17 when it came out, you would have loved it. Let me tell you that from experience.
I didn't know I'm not.
And Broken Arrow, one of John Woo's first.
Oh, we watched that?
We watched it years ago.
Yeah.
It's John Woo's second U.S. movie after Hard Target with JCVD. And Broken Arrow. Yeah, we did watch it. And just John Travolta just scene chewing as a villain in that movie. Mm-hmm. Just so evil.
Yeah. From
the jump.
Oh, he loves to play evil.
He does. I'm John Travolta. That's more of a Nick Cage, I guess.
Grease lightning.
Wow. I love Broken Arrow.
It was fun. It's a good one.
Broken Arrow, I feel like Broken Arrow Face Off. That's your double feature.
That's a great double feature.
2 John Woos, he made them back to back. John Travolta gets to play the heavy in both of them with so much relish. And you trade out Christian Slater for Nick Cage. I love both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. Wow, so much fun. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and see if anyone's chimed in. Sense. Love Black Snake Moan. That movie kicks ass too. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson sing and play guitar. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That club scene. Holden Wook watched Hustle and Flow over and over at a friend's apartment. That tracks. It was very much like, let's throw this on during the day movie in college, I feel like. It was at my place too, I feel like. Christian Slater and John Travolta's boxing in the opening of Broken Arrow is so silly. But it's a microcosm for their conflict. And how John Travolta's character is more willing to break the rules and play dirty, and Christian Slater's got to learn to do that.
Yeah.
In kind of an outdated view of like, we'll get to this because one of the movies we watched brings this up, but kind of this masculinity through trial by violence vibe that was big in the 90s. Cool seeing Hustle and Flow after Crash. Oh, interesting. I saw Crash once. I really don't like it, but I saw it once when it came out. I remember... It's interesting, yeah. Because Hustle and Flow actually treated race issues with, like, an intelligent, thoughtful guys instead of Crash, which feels like someone made a list of stereotypes and fit them all in and thought that that was progress. Unstoppable, Tony Scott's last movie. I did not realize that was his last movie. That sounds like something I would love to watch. Dang. Fievel is Don Bluth, yes. Tony Todd's in, Tony Todd is slasher royalty. He's in the...
what is it?
Hellfest.
Hellfest.
Yeah, I mean, American Tail is depressing and scary. So is the second one.
Yeah.
But, like... That was Don Bluth, Spielberg. All Dogs Go to Heaven was also Don Bluth, and I feel like a lot of his movies are like, let's not shy away from these heavier themes, just because of the children. Back in the day when kids' movies treated children like they could handle shit. Real quick sidebar before we jump into Wedge's movies. about getting hit right in the feels and 6 Feet Under. I do want to say one of the things we watched was 6 Feet Under. We finished it. Mm-hmm. I don't know where you are in your rewatch, Holdenwook, and I certainly don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't watched it, but I think that this is maybe tied with Buffy and The Simpsons. If you were to ask me what's my favorite show of all time, I would say the Simp Buffy is 6 Feet Under, because I can't separate them, but this is your first time finishing it. Mm-hmm. Was it annoying having me sob next to you for 20 minutes?
No. It was, if I'm totally honest with myself, like, when did we finish that? A week and a half ago? Mm-hmm. I still am thinking about it. I'm still, like, processing, not the finale necessarily, or the last few episodes even, just the show. I'm still, like, I feel like my body is still, like, absorbing the show. It's like, you know?
Yeah.
It was just great.
And after we finished it, you didn't want to necessarily talk about it, which, of course, I love to, like, start nerding out and talking about things as soon as they're done, but it, to me, was a sign of how much it actually did impact you, because like, typically, I feel like if something's, like, cool, we'll talk about it, but then in this instance, it was almost like you'd experienced a private loss, and you were like, I'm not ready to discuss it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like whether or not I want to talk about something after it's finished, especially, like, right after it's finished, there's no, like, set rule for me.
Right.
It's like, like, I know some movies we turn off and I, like, immediately want to be like, oh my god, let's talk about this, and then other ones I'm like, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know what it just, I feel like for this in particular, and again, no spoilers, I felt like there wasn't really anything to say. I feel like it's such a personal thing, and it's such an emotional thing. There is no, like, you're not going to sit there and analyze it. You're not going to go tit for tat. For me, it's like, we all know what is beautiful and wonderful and devastating, and
well, I'm just going to say, I think there is always something to talk about, like,
and that's where
point.
we differ.
That's where we differ. That's fine. But I think that for me, just knowing you pretty well, your reaction of not wanting to talk about it reminded me of the way that you deal with things that, like, I don't know, like, it seemed as though it was indicative of how much it hit you. Yeah, because I love to spew my emotions, but when you truly feel something, it's like you need to deal with it privately first. And so, of course, after that finale, I'm like, so, and you're like, it was as though it was a personal thing. Mm-hmm. Also, I think for me, knowing what was coming in those last few episodes, I was vibrating in a anticipatory way. Mm-hmm. I think the second watch was really rewarding, especially the Echo Tone episode, just because there's a dream sequence that's meaningful. That's all I'll say. Mm-hmm. And for me, knowing what the dream sequence meant going into it, I felt as though I was experiencing a personal loss in real time, and it hit me hard. And then I looked over at you, and I'm like, Dust, this just happened to Stephanie. She didn't see it coming.
Yeah. If you even want to call it a criticism, I don't think it's a criticism, but my one thing with 6 Feet Under was that it was a little melodramatic at certain points. It was a little soap opera-y, only because it's like, really? This thing now?
Yeah.
This thing now? This thing now?
Because it's so emotionally grounded.
Exactly. It feels the juxtaposition of how, like, human and emotional and relatable it is with, like, how really, I mean, just a basket full of shit happening to one family that feels like what are the odds of all of these things happening to this one family?
To be fair, we marathoned it. The show does take place over 5 years.
And that could be part of it. And that is an interesting thing to think about when you think about rewatching shows that came on week to week, and now we can binge them episode to episode. Maybe that's why it feels more absurd. That would be an interesting thing to, like, deconstruct or think about.
I would argue the same with Sex and the City, which is like a lot of those relationship beats feel fast, but when you think, no, this is actually, like, in the show's reality, this is taking place over a full calendar year.
Yeah.
With these things happening slowly. I think, and also shows need melodrama to exist and to stoke their characters. But yeah, I mean, I feel you. There's especially I think in season 3. There's a lot of like holy shit, it's like raining shit on these people.
Yeah, but we'll just put that over here, separate in a box, because the show is amazing. The acting is just incredible. Like the performances from those actors. Ooh, I just got chills. Like.
Yeah.
Ooh, so good.
Well, Holden Wook here just said, and so, forgive me, I have to scroll back and forth with the chat to keep the font big enough for us both to see over here, but Holden Wook, I skipped forward from season 2 to the finale after realizing that was what I really wanted to rewatch. I argue it's the greatest TV finale of all time. I completely agree. I love Buffy. I love certain shows so much. I'm very evangelical about them. I have a Buffy tattoo. But for me, there's not a more satisfying or deeper humanist statement than the last 20 minutes of 6 Feet Under. I think one thing, and not to get too analytical, I know that, just talking about it as being personally emotional, one thing we did talk about, though, is I realized that as you watch 6 Feet Under, death is kind of this thing that waits for us all, but it's more about living, and death often takes the background, because these people live and work in a funeral home, and so death is always there, but they got to get on with their lives, and that is what we are watching, is their lives, and death helps them process. It is the mirror in which they can understand their decisions, and it's all about seeing other people's grief. And I think that the ending of the show is like, okay, now audience, now it's your time to grieve, and then you just and then I think that 6 Feet Under makes me feel as though I'm truly grieving for real.
Yeah. Like
after watching 5 seasons of people helping other people with their pain, the show masterfully turns it into your shared pain with this family. And it's just so beautiful. What a beautiful statement.
So good. You know what? I can pull up the chat on my phone if that helps.
Okay, that's great. And then Pathos is saying, don't know why, but I'm reminiscing right now about the Jetsons movie and how tragic it is. Elroy's voice actor had a stroke before production started. George's voiceover had a stroke in the final recording, passed away. Mel Blanc, who's Bugs Bunny, passed away during production. Jane Jetson's VO recorded all their lines and got replaced by Tiffany at the last minute. Wow. Holden Wook, wow. Said that. Wow. Also, Pathos, that feels like it plays exactly into the finale of 6 Feet, because as you said that, all I'm seeing is names coming up on white title cards for each of these people. But that's some Poltergeist level cursed production.
Wow. Glee.
Bleak. Who knew the future was so bleak? Okay. Wedge watched Citizen Kane 2 times. I haven't seen it since college. When's the last time you watched Citizen Kane?
College.
Mank, which is about the screenwriter of Citizen Kane, and I think a wise choice to do them next to each other like that. That's pretty much what I want to do, is rewatch Kane and then watch Mank. Sound of Metal, which I am really wanting to watch. Wedge did watch Avalon and The Hidden Fortress, both movie club picks, and Mortal Kombat. And then Holden Wook, I'm going to skip ahead because Pathos said that he watched Mortal Kombat, as did Holden Wook. So let me quickly say, you didn't watch Mortal Kombat.
No.
I really liked Mortal Kombat. I did watch it. So quick aside on that. It took me 3 attempts to watch this movie. I fell asleep the first 2 times, but I was starting it way too late. I was starting it after midnight, thinking, oh, this will be my fun, by myself late night movie, and I was too tired. And it wasn't the movie's fault. Although I do think the first 20 minutes is a little dry. This was easily as good as the original Mortal Kombat, which, let's be real, isn't a good movie. It's just very fun. And that's fine. I love the original Mortal Kombat, and I love Paul Anderson. I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's one of his worst movies. I think Event Horizon and Resident Evil kick it out of the water. But if you grew up loving Mortal Kombat, playing the games, being of a particular generation, that was lifeblood for you as a kid, and I think this new one hit the same beats for me. I loved this. I generally don't love fan service, but here's the thing. Mortal Kombat was never a piece of amazing high art that had to be respected at all costs. Mortal Kombat is the plot of Enter the Dragon with monsters, and that's totally fine. you could make it as Enter the Dragon with monsters and have a perfectly fine movie. And that's essentially what these movies are trying to do. I really liked the new one. The fights were great. I thought it was very funny that Jax had that fight on the bridge with the stage fatality where you can knock people off to fall into the spikes below, and that they did not do the spikes. Thought that was kind of a fun tongue-in-cheek reference to how, like, we all tried to do that stage fatality and never did it. I also loved the leg sweep joke with Liu Kang. You walked through the room and I rewound and made her watch it.
That was very funny.
I loved the Cabal in the quicksand reference. There was a lot of very fun stuff in this that I just was like eating up late at night, having a good time with it. I was a little confused about the Scorpion, maybe the Scorpion character and the MMA fighter at the center of it. I thought it was interesting to bring him in as the next generation Scorpion, but I'm not familiar enough with Scorpion's mythology in the original game world to know exactly what was going on there. So if anyone wants to enlighten, I'd be interested. And I might as well spoil one of our new arrivals is I picked this up at Half Price Books for $5 because I wanted to watch the original on Blu-ray so badly afterwards. But I thought this was really, really fun fan service. I'll eagerly watch the next one. It's a big, dumb movie. I really think my only criticism of it is that, guys, filmmakers of the world, just because you are making a dark, R-rated, gritty reboot of something, like, it's Mortal Kombat, it's full of blood. That was the whole point. Make it as gory and gross as you want. That shit was fun. Real people do not say fuck every other word, no matter how badass they are. And sometimes, I don't know, I sound like an old man, but when I watch a movie where someone's like, oh yeah, this fucking works. Fuck yeah, dude. Ooh, let's get that fucking guy. I'm like, you don't sound like a badass. You sound like a teenager trying to sound like a badass.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it bothers me. I guess it's just one of those things. Really, my only critique is the script was a little lazy. Mortal Kombat obviously would make a great double feature with the original. Or Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dragon, you know, Bruce Lee classic. If you've never seen it, that's what both Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat ripped off for their game plots. Check it out. Evil guy on an island trying to take over the world invites the world's best fighters to challenge him. Word up. I'm gonna scroll down.
Oh yeah, we've got some talk about Mortal Kombat here.
Alrighty. Let's see here. Scrolling back up. Twilight Zone movie disaster. Yes, Holdenwook. Yeah, that is John Landis, murderer. Do you know about this?
No.
John Landis, director of Animal House and American Werewolf in London.
No.
Did a Twilight Zone segment where he forced, correct me if I'm wrong, someone out there might have all the facts. He forced people to do a helicopter stunt on a small set without proper guidance and rushed it, and the helicopter crashed, killed his lead actor and a couple extras and some crew members. And he walked for it. Even though it was his decision, the production was insured, and he was never brought up on charges of endangerment or manslaughter.
Oh, no.
So,
no.
John Landis, did you kill people? Not the first director to kill people. That would go to D.W. Griffith. Yeah, that's awful. Pathos did not like the new MK. Loved Kano. I thought the Kano performance was really fun. I agree with you there. The thing is, I think that if I had made it all the way through the movie on my first watch when I fell asleep, I wouldn't have liked it either. I really do think it was something about trying to watch it 3 times that just chipped away at my expectations and got me to a point where I was like, I'm finishing this. It's going to be fun. Fuck it. And then I had fun. For Mortal Kombat.
So, real quick, about the Twilight Zone thing, Holden, is that what that is referencing? The extras were both children, beheaded, so awful, shit, WTF,
yes.
all on YouTube?
That's right, right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, beheaded by the helicopter blade.
Holy
Yeah, I forgot they were children, and they were playing, it was a Vietnam flashback sequence.
Wow. That's wild.
Pathos' reference to the Arcana is basically like, I honestly felt like this, if you're going to try and make a gritty, grounded version of this and you want to explain why everyone's got magical powers, might as well. It was a total MacGuffin. I really didn't mind it. I think another version of me would have minded it. But again, I think I just got my expectations to the point where I just wanted fun. Mm-hmm. What Pathos is referencing is the Arcana was like, once you become selected for the tournament, you are able to unlock a secret power. And so, like, that turns you into... So, like, Jax grows his robot arms. Or Kano's eyes become a laser eye. And it's just basically a way to rationalize all these people having supernatural abilities. I don't know. It was silly, but I was like, whatever. To be honest, you don't really need to explain shit. I'm of the school that like, if it's cool, why are you explaining it to me? Wedge basically enjoyed Mortal Kombat, got the fights right. Beyond that, it was just a superhero movie. That's a good point. The fights were well done. I think, they used real martial artists for it. The only thing I didn't like was the music. Thought it was wrong. Turned it into Guardians. Yeah, I would agree with all these criticisms. I'm not, like, trying to go to bat for this movie. I just had a good time, watching it late at night. Mm-hmm. But the original... is something I can't wait to rewatch. And Holdenwook, I haven't seen a lot of Bruce Lee either. Honestly, it's a big blind spot for me too. It's like the martial arts that's slightly before our generation, Like, I've seen so much more Jet Li and Jackie Chan than I've seen Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. But Bruce Lee really did change the world. And Enter the Dragon is the movie that Warner Brothers gave to Bruce Lee as his star vehicle. That was truly his breakout role in the West and helped merge the worlds of Asian and American filmmaking and really put Hong Kong action on the map and is the reason we're able to watch movies with Jackie Chan. So Enter the Dragon is just fun as hell. It's got John Saxon in it, the dad from Nightmare on Elm Street. It's got oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Jim. Why am I blanking on his name? Anyway, we'll come back to it. The gore in the new one was fun. It was extreme. I liked how extreme it was. Okay. Let's scroll back up. Okay, Holdenwook, Nomadland. Interested to see what you thought of that. And then also Sound of Metal. Looks like Wedge and Holdenwook overlapped in a few picks. Sound of Metal and Mortal Kombat. Would love to know what y'all thought of Sound of Metal. It's definitely on my list.
And Nomadland has been on my list since it came out. Mm-hmm. Only heard good things. And I think it did win...
Just won Best Picture.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Did anyone watch the Oscars, by the way? Hoo boy, that was a mess.
I didn't.
But I'm sure we've all talked about the controversy enough online. We don't need to belabor it here. Do you know about that?
No.
They basically... The Oscars basically banked on Chadwick Boseman winning a posthumous Oscar because he was nominated for Best Actor. Mm-hmm. So they reversed the order, and instead of doing Best Picture last, did Best Actor last because they were trying to bank on it being like an emotional thing, basically being a little callous with his death and thinking. And so they announced Best Picture, then they did Best Actress, and then they did Best Actor. Chadwick Boseman didn't win. Anthony Hopkins won, wasn't there to pick it up, and so it was supposed to be this. They bet on it being this emotional thing, but instead of it being that, they were like, the Academy will accept this award on the behalf of Sir Anthony Hopkins, and then it cut to Questlove being like, thanks for watching, and then went to credits, and it was just
ew, literally, that's so uncomfortable.
My entire Twitter feed was the word "what" for about 10 minutes.
It's awful.
It was pretty, they thought they were going to have this emotional, like, Chadwick won after he died, like, and then they bet that their Academy was going to vote for him, and they did not vote for him.
Okay. Well,
so
this is why I'm not a betting man. I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, Princess Mononoke I saw in theaters with Holdenwook, and then I went home and made an Angel Fire fan website for. Huge fan of this movie. I think that Princess Mononoke would make an awesome double feature with Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest, because both are explicitly environmentalist animated films from the 90s. I love Princess Mononoke. It is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. Y'all know I've been snatching up the Studio Ghibli remasters, and I've been wanting to do a Ghibli week. Now, I know we just did Japan, so we can come back to it, but it's out there. I love that movie so much.
Fern Gully is a great pick.
Ferngully's also so dark.
I loved that movie when I was a kid. My sister and I used to quote the, what was the bat's name?
Batty?
Batty? Is it that simple?
Probably. I'm a bat.
The bat, when the bat goes like, oh, are you a human? Never mind, this is not going to work. You have to see it.
No, do the bit.
It's just the guy being like, it's like a back and forth, like, are you a human? Are you a human? Are you a human? And then he's like, last time I checked, it really doesn't make any sense. It's just, I mean, out of context, it doesn't make sense. But we used to ask questions and say, last time I checked, as a response, you know?
Yeah. That's cute.
Do y'all get it?
We get it.
Do you get it?
We get it. Okay, well,
like, do you get it? Last time I checked. You know what I mean? It's like that.
I've been drinking too much water, which is impossible to do. But Almost Famous, I loved this movie so much in high school. And Almost Famous would be a good double feature for this. Someone young in the music industry. Josie and the Pussycats would be a fun double feature with this. I love Almost Famous.
Yeah.
Or it's been years since I've watched it. What did you think? Holden Wook?
I was like, why are you looking at me?
Okay, I want to catch up because I want to know what Holden Wook thought of as a rewatch of Almost Famous, but also...
Batty Coda, thank you. Great job, nerds.
We asked people about... what did we ask people about? Oh, the animated movie. Yes, Great Job, Nerds did recommend the animated movie on HBO.
That's what it's called?
No. It's the animated Mortal Kombat movie they just put out.
Oh.
And I'm in search of the tape, the Mortal Kombat animated VHS that came out in the 90s that was explicitly to promote the movie. And I remember renting it. It was a free rental. It's a 20-minute animation. It's really bad. And it's basically everyone's backstories. And then they get to the island for the fight. And then it's like, go see the movie for the rest of the plot. Total marketing gimmick. Rush Hour. Okay, wait. We'll get to the Rush Hours. Only clips. Even Anthony Hopkins said Chadwick deserved it. Anthony Hopkins is class act. Oh yeah, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was the movie that Boseman was nominated for. Did not see it. Great Job Nerds says Black Bottom was not great. I think Boseman was in a few movies where he turned in incredible performances in kind of okay movies, which is kind of a thing. It's interesting. A lot of actors' best roles oftentimes. For that record, Anthony Hopkins has been in a number of movies that he's incredible in that aren't that great, like Magic. Anyway, yeah, and the bat is Robin Williams, right? That's what I thought too.
I think it is. Wow.
Yeah. Dang, we need to have a little... Well, you know what, guys? It sounds like we have a gap here with Bruce Lee. Wedge, Holden Wook. I know I'm underseen on my Bruce Lee. Have you ever seen any Bruce Lee?
Couldn't tell you, which probably means no.
Well, y'all, we had been, just going to plant this seed. We can get back to it later. We had been talking about April being Japan and then moving to Hong Kong in May. There's and that could be Hong Kong directors, a lot of whom have crossed over. We could do Face Off. We could get into this woo, but I think Bruce Lee would be a really cool. Maybe we can put that out there.
Ah, I like that. We'll put it on a shelf. Boop.
Pathos. The first time I watched Princess Mononoke was good object work. Boop. A big sleepover where we all got drunk and watched on a big screen. The scene where the guy fires the arrow. His name is Ashitaka. Fires the arrow and lops off that soldier's arm. All of us are tangled like, holy shit, what the fuck. Hell yeah, I remember seeing that in theaters with Holden Wook. We were 13, and it's like Ashitaka's galloping on his elk, and he takes a shot and he's got like a demon arm because he's been infected, so his arm's like pulsing, and it's super powerful. So he takes a shot, and the arrow straight up pops this guy's head off. It's fucking cool.
Whoa.
That movie rules.
By the way, sleepover... basement, everyone drunk, cuddled under blankets, like after this past year, sounds amazing.
It does sound wonderful.
Oh, you're all invited to a slumber party.
Well, once we're fully vaxxed in a few weeks, any of y'all who happen to be out on the coast, come out to the coast. We'll have a good time. Have a few laughs. Holdenwook says, Princess Mononoke was the first anime I appreciated and loved. I had so many friends who were obsessed with Dragon Ball Z or Sailor Moon, never enjoyed it. Yo, Holdenwook, feel that. I remember you and I tried to watch Dragon Ball Z, and I would come over after school and we'd watch a little bit of it, and neither of us really committed. Nikki, a mutual friend who lived down the street, watched like every episode, knew all the myths, and I always wanted to be able to get into those series. But for me, I just never got into it. When I saw Princess Mononoke, I was like, oh, this is saying something. This is beautiful. This has a... Dragon Ball Z also suffers from the fact that it makes you wait for everything, like a paint drying. Now, that said, I've actually gotten into Sailor Moon as an adult and have been really digging it now. Super repetitive, but it's very nice comfort food at the end of the day. Yeah, I feel the same exact way as you do about this, Holdenwook. Really tried hard, couldn't get into it. I love that. It's a quintessential 90s experience, I feel like, to do better at a game than your friends who own the console and have them get mad at you and send you home. That happened to me with Street Fighter 2 at my friend Adam Leitner's house when I was 8. I beat him, and he sent me home.
That's so funny.
Attack on Titan and Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop I watched a good chunk of back in the Toonami days and really dug, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't break it down for you now, but I do remember digging. Okay, let's go back. We're almost through these, what we watched. Now, speaking of, earlier, this feels like such a serendipitous stream. Sorry, and I just talked for so long. But going back to what you said about, so I'll take some water. Going back to what you said about 6 feet and how sometimes you finish something and you want to talk right away and sometimes you don't. This next one that Holdenwook watched is one that you, I think you recently said this is the most I think that we've talked after a movie ever.
Yeah, the two movies I think that immediately sparked like long, in-depth conversations between the two of us was when we watched The Last Temptation of Christ, and then when we watched Do the Right Thing, or I watched it for the first time.
And Baby Driver in theater. Weirdly.
Yeah.
That's just because we were super amped.
Yeah. But yeah, Last Temptation of Christ we watched, was that at the beginning of quarantine? God,
It was Easter a year ago.
Feels like 10 years ago. Oh my God.
We watched it a year ago for Easter, and we talked for about an hour or two afterwards.
Yeah, we went for like a walk, sat in the front yard, and just talked and talked and talked.
This is a top
Great
10 movie for me.
Ugh.
It's a top 10 movie for me for sure. I think it's so ironic, and this point's been made before, but just in case you're unfamiliar, this movie was very protested, especially by the Catholic Church, because like the book it's based on, which is also amazing, it dares to not explore, like, if we are going by Christian theology and mythology, the idea that Jesus is fully human but fully divine, this story dares to tell the story, dares to admit that he's fully human, and that he longs for a life. And there's so much... Okay, so for me, the character of Jesus was always this on a pedestal, unapproachable concept that was dogmatic and cold. And it wasn't until I saw this movie that I was able to, like, even say from an agnostic perspective, I get it. I get the idea that this is a character and a being, whatever your personal inner belief is, that suffers the desires of humanity and living in the dirt as much as we do, but aspires to be better than the base human nature. And Willem Dafoe is just on fire, and Scorsese brings his trademark ability to walk through the murky gray areas of human morality to this character in just a beautiful way. And to me, it's so ironic that things like Passion of the Christ, which are, I think, cruel and simple, were embraced by religious groups, and something that actually dares to examine the spirituality of the Gospels from such a bold way was so denied by religious groups. And on a personal note, not to get too political, I think that speaks to the essential hypocrisy at the root of a lot of evangelical American Christianity, and that is why I'm a major stan for this movie.
Yeah.
Also written by Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver. This is one of the few DVDs I have signed. In college, Paul Schrader came to give a talk on the campus where I went to school, and I walked down there with my DVD just to get it signed by him.
That's great.
Love it. Last Temptation. Last Temptation should be double featured with The Gospel According to Matthew, Pasolini's movie, because this is the biggest influence on Last Temptation. This was actually ironically embraced by the church, but does not engage in any spirituality or mysticism or any magical realism to tell its story. It entirely envisions Jesus as a socialist revolutionary overthrowing the Roman Empire and through radical empathy and socialism. And embraced by the church in its time. I think maybe it seems more radical in hindsight. Truly one of my favorite movies. Scorsese referred to this as the reason he wanted to make Last Temptation of Christ. And so, like, truly an incredible,
Is this just Pasolini?
That's Pasolini.
Okay, because every time you pulled this out, I've been like, oh, it must be like a modern...
No, it's a period piece. This is just from the series.
He's wearing a trench coat, for those of you who can't see the cover.
Yeah, and if you want to see the other...
There weren't any trench coats back then.
Yeah, these are the Pasolini tapes that Waterbearer Films put out in the 80s.
Oh, they all have that on the cover.
They all have our tortured
Pensive
artist
Pasolini.
friend. He truly was a tortured artist for several reasons. Anyway, Last Temptation of Christ. Any closing thoughts on that? Because you loved it.
I did love it. I found it difficult to watch for a few reasons, but like not in a bad way. I mean, I'll just kind of echo what you said, especially the part about like the hypocrisy of evangelical Christian churches with movies like Passion of the Christ. I mean, I saw that movie in theaters.
I did too. We got the people in the audience. I saw it with my friend Nikki, and the people in the audience got really mad at us because one of the Roman soldiers calls Jesus the Wormy King, and we started snickering because we thought it was funny. Because we had like no respect for the movie.
Yeah.
And the irony there is we had so much respect for the Gospels and story and for like proper empathetic giving, turn the other cheek Christianity.
Yeah.
And we thought the movie was such a slap in the face to everything the Gospels were actually trying to teach that we were snickering through it, but we were surrounded by like small town Christians who did not like that we found it amusing.
And at the time, I was a small town Christian who probably would have gotten mad at you. And yeah, I just think that Last Temptation is like so much more representative of what Jesus, the gospel, the story of Jesus, what Jesus is meant to represent. And yeah. And
it speaks to the life of an artist too. I know that when I watch it, I think, man, I feel you, dude. I want a picket fence and 2.5 children and but like it speaks to the idea of, well, I'm just saying it speaks to this idea of like being called to try and like create something that tells a story that helps people versus creating a life for yourself, and how do you negotiate the two. Anyway, great shit. Let's scroll down and see if anyone commented. I imagine maybe you threw that on for okay. Sailor Moon, I want to start it. I'm not that far into it. I'm probably I think I'm on like disc 3 of season 1. So I think I'm on like 18 episodes. It's fun. It's slow moving. It's very repetitive. It's very Monster of the Week. But it does have like, instead of having like episode to episode growth, it has like 3 episodes are the same and then a big thing happens and changes the status quo. And it's an interesting way to absorb a story. I would say I love it so far. It's also very pretty and really girly and shiny in a way that I'm very drawn to. Reminds me of playing Pretty Pretty Princess with my girl friends when I was like in 3rd grade and loving all the shiny rhinestones.
There you go, great job, nerds. That was my experience, was going to see it with my youth group that I was attending at the time.
And see, that's interesting because guess who showed me Last Temptation of Christ? My youth group leader.
Sounds like you had a better youth group leader than me.
Well, look, I'm just going to tell y'all, the church that I was raised in was First Presbyterian Church in Iowa City. My pastor told me one-on-one in a one-on-one meeting that I had with him that questioning the existence of God was healthy, because if I believed it without questioning it, it would be meaningless. We had a class on evolution and how it was real, but how we could look at Genesis as a metaphor. It was a progressive-ass, grounded, science-first, people-first sort of thing. And I was very lucky to be raised in it. So Last Temptation was very much shown as a, like, let's explore this from a relatable angle instead of a dogmatic, rule-based angle.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what the experience was for you. It probably felt like more of a radical movie to you.
Oh, for sure. At the time, yeah.
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 Yeah, and great job, nerds. LOL, that's wild. Yeah, everyone I say that to is like, okay, Mr. Lucky.
Yeah, it's like, all right, good for you. Congratulations.
I distinctly remember one of my Sunday school teachers said we shouldn't play with Ouija boards, and I mentioned it to someone else in the church, and they were like, oh, she's a little crazy, don't worry about that. Demons aren't real.
That's funny.
Well, okay, I think great job, nerds, right? Yeah. Great job, nerds. Was working on websites, which Godspeed, knock on wood, all the luck in the world to you. Great job, nerds has been building spec work for, well, I don't want to say anything, but Godspeed, my friend.
I know nothing, but ditto.
Watched 3 Mortal Kombat movies and 3 Rush Hour movies. I also put on Annihilation late the other night. Fell asleep immediately. I remember renting Annihilation from a video store in Mount Pleasant, Iowa with Holdenwook, and also turning it off after about 10 minutes. We've talked about the other 2. I think we're all big fans. And of the original MK. The Rush Hour movies, I don't know if I ever saw 3. I saw the other 2 only once each. The Brett Ratner movies, I was never a big fan of these movies, to be honest. I think just because there wasn't enough cool Jackie stuff in them. Like, once you start to watch Jackie Chan's other stuff, you're like, I don't need all this plot. Give me more cool fights. Rumble in the Bronx this shit up. But I know people really love them. Wedge said 2 is racist but fun, which I feel like should go on the poster.
I remember enjoying Rush Hour, the first one.
I do too. I remember having a good time.
Yeah, but it was like, I mean, I was a teenager probably, so.
Okay, so that's more accurate. The first one, I ate it up. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I think I got into Jackie Chan, watched other Jackie Chan movies, and when the second one came out, I was like, give me more Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Enough of this plot.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, it's a Rush Hour movie.
Yeah, Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker is a treasure. And, oh man, the last video store in Mount Pleasant closed. I thought that had happened a long time ago. They had such an incredible horror VHS selection. I actually really dreamed of going there and trying to mine through it and buy a few from them. So that is crazy. Dang. Well, Mount Pleasant, Iowa, that's a loss. Bro, they are so racist, all of them. I have no trouble believing that.
Who said that? Where's that?
Great Job, Nerds. The Rush Hour movies.
Oh, yeah.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure for a double feature with Last Temptation.
I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel. Can you say that? Can you do a Pee-wee impression?
I can only do the I can't do the I can't speak as him. It's hard. I'm a loner, Daddy. A rebel.
I'm a loner, Daddy.
Loner. I always end up. I always go to Babcat Goldthwait or like into that.
Oh, Kermie.
Kermie. Yeah, he always turn into.
I can't do those.
I'm a loner, Daddy.
Like,
a rebel. I am Kermit the Frog.
I am Kermit. I can't do those like.
Kermit the Frog here, broadcasting live from Sesame Street.
Kermit.
Kermit. Waka waka. Chris Tucker's a treasure. I love seeing him pop up in Silver Linings Playbook a few years ago. He apparently just isn't in that much recently because he charges an arm and a leg.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently he's just hard to get.
Good. If you don't need to work, and you don't want to,
go for it, dude.
Go for it.
Be Chris Tucker. Thank
Love
you
that.
for your service. Seriously. Chris Tucker, most legendary role as Alien Prince in The Fifth Element.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Several Lanes Playbook, I haven't seen that movie in years, but when it first came out, I think I watched it legit 5 times in 2 years.
I'm a huge David O. Russell fan, and I didn't really keep up with him afterwards because I didn't love American Hustle, but Three Kings, Silver Linings Playbook, I Heard Huckabees, I'm like, fucking love his movies for the most part.
Yeah.
They're just such good humanist comedies.
I agree.
Oh, dude, Three Kings is awesome. You got Clooney, you got Ice Cube, you got Spike Jonze.
I'd like to rewatch that one.
Jamie Kennedy,
I think.
and
The Fighter! The Fighter was so good, too.
The Fighter, I can't believe I omitted that. The Fighter is legend, god-tier drama.
So good. So good.
I love that movie.
God, I want to rewatch that movie now.
Let's watch The Fighter.
Oof.
Maybe tonight.
Thank you, Wedge.
I love The Fighter. Three Kings you would really dig, Wedge. Very fun. And fun story from set. David O. Russell, while I love his movies, is apparently kind of an asshole. And fun story from set is that he was yelling at a crew member, and George Clooney stepped in and said, "Don't talk to him that way, talk to me that way. He doesn't get paid enough to be talked to that way." And David O. Russell got in his face and shoved him, and apparently Clooney punched him out, and then that was the end of their conflict on set. Like, took a slug at him.
Is it weird that I like George Clooney a lot more now that you told me
George
that story?
Kind of, I mean, like...
I mean, I know that he may not be like the... I don't feel like he's pretty good as far as...
The only few behind-the-scenes stories I know, other than him being a debonair playboy, which, go off, king, who cares? Like, if you're dating adult women and you're rich and, like, you're George Clooney, be George Clooney. I also love Good Night, Good Luck. It's one of my favorite movies. He directed it. And
So
also,
good.
the only other story I know about George Clooney behind the scenes is when he was in... I forget where he was. It was in America, it was a foreign country, and... some production he was in, or his car ended up like fender bendering some local woman's car, and he just bought her a new car, like had her when she showed up at the mechanic was a new car waiting for her.
He seems like a class act as far as men in Hollywood are concerned.
Yeah, I love George Clooney.
Yeah, he's also a fantastic actor. Oh, something I watched this week was Up in the Air, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was that rewatching that like?
It's weird. I started rewatching it and I was like, I pretty much remember this movie. I thought I didn't remember it at all, but it felt like I just rewatched it, I had just watched it, which was a weird sensation. Because it had been like maybe 7 years since I'd seen it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, did I just watch this last month?
I mean, that director makes pretty approachable movies. Am I wrong, or that's the same guy who did Juno?
I think so.
And Thank You for Smoking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's got a really nice, like, dramedy, like, very watchable vibe.
That's exactly what I would say, is that it was, like, the perfect movie to just kind of put on and, like, have some wine and chill out and put my feet up. It was super watchable, dramedy. And
Vera Farmiga is, like, a babe.
Babe!
And I really hate that she appears to not be cast in things, because she kind of became famous at the top of, like, that dreaded age range. But, like, she was one of the, like, I was, like, kind of rooting for her to go, like, the Meryl Streep route of becoming, like, kind of our new, like, babely adult woman presence in movies.
Yeah.
Then again, a lot of movies that are being made now don't have adults in the lead.
That's true.
A lot of movies that are being made now feature very, like, young 20-somethings.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Follow the money brick road.
Oh, boy.
You know what they say.
Hit me. Up in the air. Hit me. George Clooney was the Batman that had bat nipples.
Yep.
Amazing. I love how crazy, unapologetically campy queer Batman and Robin is.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, like, so fucking, like, I don't care what anyone says. That movie, every Batman movie kicks ass. I don't think there's a Batman movie I don't like.
Yeah.
For different reasons, and I love the bat nipples.
It's great.
They're so silly. They're so unapologetically gay. The American, and also, you know what? The American reminds me of Syriana. I don't know if anyone did you ever see Syriana?
No. It was, like, always on my list, but I never got to it.
Syriana's fantastic. It didn't do as well as it could because I read one review that I thought put it perfectly. Syriana doesn't rely on any sort of musical or lighting beats that other movies might to tell you who you should care about or what's going on. It is one of the most just like murkiness of the world movies to deal with the Middle East and our U.S. aggressions in the Middle East and control from the aughts, from the Bush era. I really recommend it. I think he produced it too.
Yeah. Oh, also, yeah, I do want to say about Up in the Air. Wedge is saying, "Oh man, Up in the Air hit me." I think there was some more.
Sorry, pathos. That's a joke from Batman Forever that I absolutely love. Yeah, holy rusted metal.
Oh.
It's metal. It's full of holes. And she is hot in The Departed. I'm sorry.
Oh, she's so hot in The Departed. Oh my god.
When she's in that little like t-shirt and underwear in the kitchen.
Everyone's hot in that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, not everyone, but yes. So, Up in the Air, the interviews with real people, it is very emotional. I will say that part of it is.
Oh, I forgot that happened.
Sad.
When Harry Met Sally moved.
Yeah, but they use them as the actors in the scenes.
That's cool.
Of all the people getting laid off because of the economic crash.
Oh boy.
And it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Especially in the in credits scene. You can like see that it's like when they're not rolling for the movie and they're just talking to the people.
I don't remember it at all. I don't remember it at all.
Ugh, hurts the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to rewatch. I kind of forgot that entire subtext was in that movie. I would like to rewatch that. And Holden, look, to your point, Nomadland made you want to rewatch Good Night and Good Luck because of David Strathern. I've been really wanting to watch The River Wild for a hot minute with you.
I've never seen that.
River Wild is Meryl Streep and David Strathern and the little kid from Jurassic Park on a river rafting thing. And you want to talk about, like, we were talking about Nobody, like the idea of, like the family dynamic and protecting your family and being emasculated. It's a movie about David Strathern's like a workaholic dad who begrudgingly comes along on this trip with Meryl Streep and the kid from Jurassic Park. And Kevin Bacon and John C. Reilly are runaway criminals that take them hostage on the river.
Yeah.
But what they don't know is that Meryl Streep used to be a river tour guide.
Yeah.
And it kicks ass. It's directed by the same guy who did Eraser and 8 Mile, or same guy who did LA Confidential and 8 Mile.
Yeah, you picked that up last year, and it was on our queue shelf at the old house for a minute.
Did I pick it up on DVD?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to upgrade it now. It's been long enough. Well, there you go. Well, cool. I guess we should get into what we watched.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you got Up in the Air on my end.
Up in the Air.
I'm trying to think what else. So I mentioned earlier at the top of the stream that I went down a real television rabbit hole. Speaking of rabbit holes, I watched the HBO Q documentary, binged it in a week. I was pretty much watching like an episode a day last week. It is so dense.
I could use that restroom real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
If you want to talk about
Has anyone else
Q.
watched the Q documentary on HBO? Let me know. It's super dense. It was so many moving parts, so many things to keep track of. I don't know anything about the filmmaker, but it struck me as somebody who, 3-4 years ago started following the Q phenomenon when it was really small, like really early on, and sort of got his foot in the door at the right time, and HBO bought the documentary. I'm not totally sure if that's accurate. I watched the Q doc. No, but I'm afraid. Great job, nerds. Do you mean the documentary was so disappointing? I'm curious. Because I'm just seeing the cognitive dissonance with the true believer. Yes, Munson J. Don't get me started on like cognitive dissonance and people believing fucking crazy shit. I thought the Q doc was just like so. It's weird. I almost feel like I want to watch it twice. Am I crazy? I would agree with that. Great job, nerds. Yeah, I want a doc with teeth. It definitely felt like the filmmaker was trying to buddy up to everyone, trying to remain close and neutral to every party involved. And that was a little, like, weird, and also kind of made the presentation somewhat neutral. So yeah, I guess, yes, you do decide who is the bad guy, but I mean, at the end, it's like, definitely doesn't reveal who Q is, but I mean, I'm fairly convinced. I'm not totally convinced. I don't really know.
June, are you Q?
June?
Don't call her over here.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, hold on, look. That's kind of what I was saying, is like, it seems like he got his foot in the door like way early on, and so he had access to these people who became down the road like these huge figureheads for Q, not just like 8chan and everything, but for the Q movement. And it felt like, because the filmmaker had been like buddying up to them from the beginning, that by the time that Q really started snowballing out of control, he was sort of like, these people are my, like, pseudo non-friends, ? Like, it felt very, like, he didn't exactly know what he wanted to say with the documentary. It felt like he was trying to be too neutral, too middle of the road, too much of a presenter of information, instead of, like, saying, you know, this is totally fucked.
Well, to Great Job Nerds' point, I wanted to say this movie, Exterminate the Brutes, we have not seen. But to your point about it's not funny at the end with the laughing. See, I haven't seen it, so maybe you have an opinion there. But to really just quickly, Great Job Nerds saying, I want a doc with teeth. He was letting me know earlier in the week that Exterminate the Brutes is a really great doc we should check out. So I wrote it down as something.
Is it a Q doc, or is it a totally unrelated?
No, apparently it's just a very, like, angry documentary about the history of colonialism.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we should check it out.
And the point about the laughing at the end, I do think the filmmaker is laughing out of a tension, a sense of, like, relieving tension. I think it's almost involuntary, because of that, like, that hiccup, that moment of slipping up on Ron's part. I think that he's saying, like, oh my God, you finally slipped after years of me, like, trying to catch you. You finally said something off just enough that it could be incriminating. And I think he's laughing out of some weird mixture of, like, fear and joy and relief. As far as Ron is concerned, I think he's just kind of a sociopath either way, however the cards fall. And he's laughing because, you know, it's like a maniacal villain laugh, and he loves it.
I feel like I've heard enough about these people that I do not want to watch hours of them talking.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of with, who said that earlier? Was it Pathos or... Oh, sorry. Munson said, just seeing the cognitive dissonance would spike my anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not sure I would... Vice TV made a similar doc, released a few weeks, all the same characters, felt like I was watching the same thing.
Interesting. I thought maybe if somebody else had done a documentary, that maybe they would have, you know, had more of a viewpoint as far as the filmmaker's concerned.
More of a, yeah. Well, interesting.
Anyways, I mean, I would recommend watching it, I think. I feel like I'd recommend watching it if you're at all interested in the Q thing. However, I think at this point, like you said, we all know enough about Q to know that it's fucked.
Right.
And that, you know, the internet. Period.
The internet, because the internet. All right, well.
Also, it was, like, triggering, especially the last episode. Just so that, you know, if anyone's feeling, like, sensitive about the Trump presidency and the last 4 years and the last year and the quarantine and, like, you know, the insurrection and the Q movement and the Q movement's tied to Trump, and Trump's just the fact that he loves people loving him and doesn't care about anything but godlike praise. If you feel anger or sensitivity surrounding any of those topics, maybe
don't. Well, y'all, I want to talk about the other things we watched together, because we did a triple feature.
We did.
And that's it. Because I got back and we did, actually, I watched 4 movies. The 4th for me was Mortal Kombat. The triple feature we did was Female Prisoner number 701, Scorpion, directed by Shunya Ito, starring Miko Kaji, 1972. I've been pushing to watch it this whole time. I just learned some really interesting stuff in my Miko Kaji biography I'm reading about the production of it and how it was so grueling, but it was a feminist twist on the women in prison movie, and how in Japan it was originally billed as the B feature on an AB double feature, and within 1 week took the A slot because it was so popular among not just young men who were maybe showing up for an action movie with TNA in the big cities. There's an interesting thing about the studio that put it out owned a lot of theaters that were in cities, so they tended to produce things for their own theaters that were a little bit more sex and action, whereas the more like old-fashioned sort of like good guy, bad guy samurai movies tended to play in the country more. So almost like a generational divide between like westerns and new wave action. I mean, this movie is one of my favorites. I can't wait to rewatch the 2 sequels and then the third sequel, which isn't very good. But the trilogy originally, so great. And this was your first time watching it.
Yeah, it was.
This movie makes me fall in love with movie making.
I think that is an accurate description. I feel like you've been talking about this movie for a while, and I'm so glad we finally watched it, because it is such a movie maker's movie. Like, just thinking about the lifting that went into this, to making this movie, is just remarkable. And like the set design and the camera tricks, and yeah.
Because on its face, this is a plot. It's a revenge movie. It's about on its face, this is about a woman who is wronged by a corrupt cop, aka a cop, who she gets put in. Sorry, it's ACAB all day on the show, y'all. She gets put in jail, and it's a women in prison movie that turns into a revenge movie. Honestly, plot-wise, dime a dozen, but because of Meiko Kaji's presence and because of the crazy expressionist filmic techniques that are being used and the kabuki theater techniques, it is just so transcendent. One of my favorite shots in this whole movie is it is transitioning from basically her losing her virginity to her lover, who then plays her to get her assaulted by a group of men at a club so that he can arrest them on sexual assault charges. Mm-hmm. And the way that it's done, it shows her in his arms, and then the camera pans up without cutting, the lighting changes, and we're in a nightclub, and then it becomes clear that the woman in the arms was not actually Meiko Kaji, but a double, as Meiko Kaji in her dress walks through. I so desperately want to do this in a movie where we transition between scenes without a cut, just based on a rotating set and a lighting change.
It reminded me of...
amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. It reminded me of Houseu.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been around the exact same time of just like people just having fun with film techniques.
And this just like moving around a set or manipulating a set instead of like with like a oneer.
Instead of cutting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love this movie so much. It's a big recommendation for me, y'all. I think I like it more than Lady Snowblood. I love Lady Snowblood, but Lady Snowblood is... Oh, I mean... I feel like Lady Snowblood is like the polished masterpiece, and Female Prisoner 701 Scorpion is like the punk rock like filmmaker who just can't wait to try out all these ideas. And I think that just that spark that it has is I'm very attracted to in movies. Can we have a little Meowdle Combat guy here right here? Meowdle Combat! Okay, then we watched Nobody, which I felt like it was hard to watch after Female Prisoner Scorpion. I'm going to rip this Band-Aid off. I really wanted to like this movie. I'm a huge Bob Odenkirk fan. Oh, by the way, Female Prisoner Scorpion, double feature it with Switchblade Sisters.
Ooh.
Yeah. Different country, same vibe.
It's a good double feature.
Nobody. Now, I love Bob Odenkirk, and I wanted to like this movie. I was expecting kind of an inverse John Wick style thing, and I think the movie wants you to think of it that way, but rather than feeling John Wick, what I got from it more was a lot of turn-of-the-century, and let me just spew my thoughts real quick. I said this to you already.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of that turn-of-the-century 1999 masculine fear, specifically Fight Club, Office Space, and American Beauty, which are movies about men who feel trapped by a sense of normalcy and domesticity, wanting to prove that they have a masculine freedom within themselves, specifically Fight Club. However, nobody lacked the satire of those movies. It was so self-serious. It really felt like this character wanted to be that violent person. It also felt like History of Violence, but without any of the social commentary or political commentary that Cronenberg brought to History of Violence. And so ultimately, I think I was a little disappointed by how I felt this movie had so many opportunities to be a little bit more complex and thoughtful, and it felt a little bro-y to me. That is on a philosophical level. On a pure filmmaking level, this movie needed some air. Tonally, from moment to moment, it just felt like there was a lot of messiness. Things cut together. I think we were talking about the running gag of him telling his life story to people that he's injured and they die while he's talking. Mm-hmm. But it didn't feel funny because the movie didn't give it a chance to be funny.
Yeah.
It just wanted to get through it. And I think just the overall slapdash nature, some choices. I thought the soundtrack was very trite. I did not like seeing slow motion violence set to Louis Armstrong for like the 12th time. This felt like a lot of movies a lot of ideas from movie. I think you said it's a collage of ideas from better movies.
Yeah. Put
together with the sensibility of what a high school boy thinks is badass.
Yeah.
And I so wanted to. I mean, Bob Odenkirk being a secret badass, sign me the fuck up. I was so bummed that I didn't like this more. I kept wanting to relax and let it wash over me, and the movie kept insisting that I pay attention to poor choices.
Yep.
Sorry.
No.
I feel I don't like to not like movies. This is the first movie I've watched in a while that I think I was legitimately like a little let down. First time I've been let down in a while by a new release.
Yeah, I would, I mean, you and I talked about this movie after we watched it, and you kind of hit all the things we talked about. So just to kind of echo everything that you were saying, my biggest takeaway was that it felt like a decoupage of like copy-pasted moments from other movies, just really derivative moments that weren't done quite as well because it was like slapping a bunch of stuff together instead of focusing on like making it cohesive. Mm-hmm. I felt like the tonal shifts were really jarring. Like to speak to your point about like trying to settle in and let it wash over you, it kept demanding that you like move with it to another space. Like, wait, what? I thought I was watching this type of movie, and now I'm watching this type of movie. Like, it felt very all over the place to me. I really wanted to like it as well, and we're very aligned on our thoughts and feelings about this movie, which doesn't always happen. Mm-hmm. I really, really wanted to like this. I kept thinking, oh, here it goes. Oh, it's going to happen. Oh, I'm going to like it now. And then I was like, especially after like the first half of the movie. Moving into the second half of the movie, I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of gone.
I was, to be honest, for a 93-minute movie, I was in the third act waiting for it to be over. And that's not a good sign. I didn't like the narration being used early on and then taken away. And becoming external. That was a weird device.
I think we talked about that point too, where it was like the first half of the movie is voiceover, and then it moves to him speaking out loud, which didn't feel in line with his character, who's supposed to be this anonymous figure, but he's like explaining his life story to, and maybe it's because he could tell that these people were about to die, so he's like, now's my chance. I get to tell somebody who nobody is.
I just think that honestly, it's just got a lot of ideas that are good ideas. It's got a fun plot. it felt a little like conservative propaganda, like Death Wish style movie to me. And if it had a little bit more emphasis on who this guy was and a little less emphasis on how good he was at hurting people and how that marked his masculinity. It was like a Straw Dogs for 2021, but Straw Dogs from the 70s. It felt like a wartime movie. Like, and what I mean by that is anytime the U.S. is at war, we produce movies that celebrate brutality a bit more. And it felt like that. I also, for coming from the guy who directed Hardcore Henry, which is all about an action gimmick of the first person perspective, how come the only cool one shot in this was the guy crossing the street and walking into a club? Like, where's your choreo and your cut? Anyway, I'm not trying to just like talk this movie into the ground. I know maybe. So great job, nerds. I fully see what you're saying. In the end, yeah, it bugs me because he likes being a murderer, but I did let it wash over me. That's fair. And if you had fun with it, have fun with it. But yeah, I think that it would have been interesting for the movie to be honest with us about how he likes being a murderer.
But also, again, to talk about how tonally uneven it was, like, if it were just, was it a serious movie? Was it a fun movie? Was it a lighthearted thing? Was it supposed to be grounded? Like, it just kept, I just couldn't get comfortable. It kept, like, shifting in my seat. Like, wait, what? I would,
now, if maybe some of these lessons get learned and there's a sequel, I will watch the sequel. Maybe they can grow from here. I will see Bob Odenkirk in anything.
Absolutely. And the thing is like, yeah, I really wanted this to be a fun watch. Really wanted this to be like a fun ride. I was like buckled in. I was ready for it. And it just did not take me there.
Yeah, fair. And Munson had a good time, but valid points. It seems like Straw Dogs I want to watch again too. Honestly, I'm going to write Straw Dogs down. That's one you haven't watched, Stephanie. It's a harder watch for sure. Content warning on that one. But to your point, Vinny, yeah, great job, nerds. Yes, Straw Dogs is also about the... it does celebrate, I think as film critics of the time said, it does distill Peckinpah's belief that violence was a rite of passage for masculinity, but it's complicated. It's also Dustin Hoffman, which is a similar sort of stunt casting. So maybe Straw Dogs should be the double feature. Or you know what? History of Violence is the double feature with Nobody. It's the same concept. What if a family man had a secret government operative past, but split it off where Nobody is like the joyous pop version of it, and History of Violence is the like, what are we teaching ourselves as men in America?
Yeah, and one more thing about Nobody, like, one of the other reasons I just couldn't quite sink my teeth into it is because the movie doesn't really let it, like you were saying, there's not breathing room, so it doesn't really let you care or invest in any of the characters or their relationships to one another. Like, who is this family unit with the two brothers and the dad? Like, what is their history? What's up with that? Like, what's up with his relationship with his wife and his relationship with his kids? Like, everything's just so, like, just it's flashing by you.
Rapid fire.
And you don't even know anything about his personal history, his life, his, record, whatever. So you're just sort of like, I don't really know who these people are or what, what his deal is. I mean, you can put things together with context clues, and they say some things explicitly, but knowing and caring are two different things.
Knowing and caring, I like that. Pathos said to watch Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men. Holdenwook said his girlfriend was watching them the other day. They must be on something else right now. I for sure, when I read Holdenwook write, my girlfriend was watching the Grumpy movies, I for sure thought he was referencing stop motion movies he and I made as children, with Grumpy being a word for poop. Characters talking about how they had to poop.
Surely that's what she was watching.
Which brings us to the other movie we watched, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery from 1997, the first. I think this movie is evergreen. I honestly laughed so hard. So many things still get me. I love Austin Powers. I love all three of these movies. I honestly, like, for me, they're going to be evergreen comedies. I think that the first one in particular really influenced what I think is funny to this day, for better, for worse. Just really dug that. And there's something you wanted to say about Austin Powers, because we are bringing back Holden Wook. Thank you for the title here.
Oh yes, you are in a clothing store. Segment 2 is going to be up on the Instagram later this week. I didn't quite finish it, but the other night when we were watching it, I was like, all right, this is the next one.
So Steph has gone through it and made some amazing slides that we will do next week on the show, but you can find on our Instagram at You're in a Video Store on Insta, where You're in the Clothing Store.
And I tried to shy away from, typical moments, looks, if you will. But as far as Austin Powers is concerned, the opening sequence is so fun. I love a big opening number. Just choreographed,
The other two have even bigger numbers.
I know. And I'm excited to rewatch this.
I am too!
But so fun. I think that some of the jokes are really evergreen. A few of them don't hold up as well. And then there are some things I was telling Adam after we watched it that I can't tell if they're just so eternally in the zeitgeist at this point. Like, I can't remember how they made me feel or how they made me laugh, like, when I first saw them.
Yeah.
Like, they're, like, the, what are some of the examples that we were...
I don't know, because everything made me laugh. Like, maybe the shh moment, the shh.
No.
Like, jokes that you've just seen so much.
It's not even that they did or did not make me laugh. It's that, like, it was hard for me to see them with fresh eyes.
I get that. But we both still laughed at stuff like, threw me a freaking boon here.
Threw me a freaking boon here is, like, definitely an evergreen joke.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so funny. It's so stupid, but it's so funny.
Ooh, soon later.
Ooh, soon later.
Slowly but surely. Ultraviolet rays. I mean, this is gonna be quoting Austin
Sharks
Powers.
with laser beams.
And Wedge said, agreed 100% that Jerry Springer, I think, is the funniest scene of any movie ever of Austin Powers 2. I cannot wait to rewatch it. I know exactly what you're talking with the My Dad Wants to Take Over the World with Scott and Dr. Evil and, like, the Klans member and the Nazi.
And it's fun because I don't remember 3 very well, to be totally honest.
Sorry, so now I'm just remembering random shit.
No, it's okay. Austin Powers 2 is, like, taking a lot of the ideas from the first one and just heightening them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that one is the heightened version of them in therapy, in father-son therapy.
That's what I was remembering, was that amazing monologue that Mike Myers wrote for Dr. Evil about my childhood was typical. Summers in Rangoon. My father would get drunk and make absurd claims like he invented the question mark.
That is one of my favorite jokes ever, is an absurd claim like he invented the question mark.
He would accuse chestnuts of being lazy.
Funny to me. Like, sweating.
And Wedge, yes, that is how they bring him back. It's amazing. Goldmember is the plot with Michael Caine playing his dad who wasn't there. Beyonce's film debut, playing a character named Foxy Cleopatra, which is a combination of Foxy Brown and Cleopatra Jones from blaxploitation movies. It's another time travel one. It's got Goldmember, the Dutch. I'm from Holland, isn't that weird? The guy who eats skin, like just gross stuff. Dixie Morris, yes. Which, to be honest, the joke names, like a lot of vagina and stuff, like not that far off from a thing they're parodying, like Pussy Galore.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
James Bond was parodying itself at a certain point.
But you want to talk about just, like, leaning back and getting, like, being on the ride. Like, I was fully on the ride for Austin Powers. For
sure. Oh, and pathos, yeah. I mean, I imagine that if you have a similar thing, that would be uncomfortable to watch. It's particularly, like, I also remember the bong and a biscuit, smoking a pancake. It's so weird. I still think that shit is, like, okay. Scrolling back, Austin Powers, I feel like the first one would be a really good double feature with, let's see here. I might want to say The Naked Gun, because it's another, like good guy, bad guy parody, but I also think it would be Austin Powers. You could go and do it with something like, you could do like In Like Flint, like one of the movies that, that's his favorite movie. Austin's favorite movies, In Like Flint. I feel like there's some swinging 60s movies here that it's just not that aren't in my wheelhouse as much that might go well with it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say the opening sequence did make me think of, and I know that Woody Allen is not like top of the pops right now. But it did make me think of Bananas.
Oh yeah,
a lot of elements of that movie did make me think of Bananas.
I think that that's a good point. Yeah. Bananas or even Sleeper would be a fun double feature. Yeah. Sleeper would, because it's about him waking up in the future.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Hold and Look, absolutely, you can convert this segment to an NFT. I don't know how that works, but go for it and just cut us in for hosting fee. NFT is a non-fungible token, which is like a digital collectible. It's like a digital collectible that you can... I don't understand it at all. I know that people are mad because they take server space and it's bad for the environment for them to exist.
Right. I think I listened to an episode of The Daily about NFTs that I understood maybe 70%.
Great job, nerds. That's it. Black Dynamite. I just scrolled down. That's it. That's a perfect pick. Perfect pick for a double feature with Austin Powers. Black Dynamite.
What's Black Dynamite?
Black Dynamite is Michael J. White playing a character named Black Dynamite, who it's a blaxploitation parody from early teens. It's very funny.
Oh, okay.
There's one of the best jokes, and I'm sure this is the joke that comes to everybody's mind, is like Black Dynamite is like he's playing like the it's much like that show I did at Fallout, like Black Dynamite's like the paragon of strength for the community. But it's a parody of all these 70s things, and they have all these guys playing pimps and stuff, and he breaks in on their meeting, and he's like, from now on out, no one's selling drugs to the community. And the guy from Reno 911 raises his hand, he's like, but Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community. Someone giggled if they've seen it, because that's a funny joke. It's just it's a dry comedy. Black Dynamite would also be a great double feature with Pootie Tang.
I'm intrigued.
See? Great job, nerds.
Maybe I missed it. Maybe I just zoned out listening to your voice.
Well, it happens.
I
threw that shit before I walked in the room. So much good stuff in that movie. We should watch. All right, I'm writing down movies that y'all have reminded us to check out. Well, honey, with that, I mean, Stephanie.
Oh, real quick, I was going to say I did watch a couple more things.
Oh, sure.
Just want to throw out a recommend, especially for Great Job Nerds. I think was into the Great Flower.
I am smiling.
The Great Flower Fight.
The Great Flower.
The Big Flower. What was the Netflix show? The Great Big Flower Fight.
That big old flower time.
Anyways, if you enjoyed that show, I want to recommend a show on HBO. It's called First Bloom. I should have written this down. I watched the whole thing. First Bloom? I think it's called First Bloom. Anyways, it's a floral design competition show. It is delightful. I love any kind of design competition show. I love seeing creative process under pressure. I love seeing people who are great at what they do being thrown into challenges that aren't necessarily in their wheelhouse or their aesthetic, but they just have to figure out how to work for a client or how to meet a brief. I love it. I could watch artists competing in reality shows all day. But yeah, First Bloom on HBO, beautifully shot, really gorgeous flower design going on there. Highly recommend. I also started watching on Amazon Prime a reality show called Couples Therapy, and it's shot in a way that I found really interesting. I think I'm only on episode 6, but episode 6, season 2. I really enjoyed watching this so far because it's not really shot like a typical reality show. There's no asides. There's no talking head interviews. It's just discrete cameras in the room with couples while they're in therapy. Some of their stories aren't told in a super linear way. Also, the woman who is their therapist is actually in graduate school, and you follow her throughout the show, going to meet with her advisor, and again, kind of fly on the wall, seeing them discussing these sessions and her kind of debriefing with her advisor about these sessions, and all of the interludes and sort of just the way it's presented and the way it's filmed feels very cinematic. in nature. It doesn't really feel like a reality show. It really feels like you're sort of like, you know, getting invited to sit in these rooms with people. And it's really intimate and, yeah.
So, First Bloom on HBO and Couples Therapy on Prime. Mm-hmm. Shows for you.
Yeah, just real quick, if you wanted to get into some TV this week, just throwing that out there.
Sounds like Great Job Nerds says Oneat for the Flower Show, and we'll watch the Couple Show, perhaps with his sisters over the weekend.
Yay! And also, yes, the Glass Blowing Show, I've watched both seasons. And
I watched some of that with you. It was awesome.
So good.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
And I don't typically watch competitive shows unless they're called Drag Race.
Yeah.
I stick to my lane. Well, unless anyone has anything else they want to share or recommend, I suppose we can get on to our rather big new arrivals section of the night. I see our lights fading, so I'm going to do a little bit of an adjust here. I'm
going to take a quick break while you do that, since you have such a toss.
All right, y'all. Getting into the new arrivals for the week. I'm gonna go ahead and look, guys. This is it's like an embarrassment of riches because a lot of stuff came from the Arrow sale they did for Easter. A lot of stuff came from eBay while I was out of town, and I also went thrifting. So I'll show you the big ones, and then I'll go into all the cheap, fun stuff that I found thrifting. The big ones are this, which just came in the mail today. I cannot wait to rewatch this movie. It's been a long time since I watched it. Arrow just put out this limited edition, big ol' honkin' version of the Battle Royale movies, of which there are 2. And so I've only ever seen Battle Royale 1. I was a huge fan of it, especially back in the day. This has 2 versions of both Battle Royale and Battle Royale 2, theatrical and director's cut of each. It's got a soundtrack, and it also comes with a book. I'm not going to get everything out of here, but one thing that I found particularly fascinating was this. It says Battle Royale Trump Cards on it, and what it is legitimately a tabletop card game based on the movie. So Arrow really went full bore on this one. There's also, as usual, a hardbound book on the movies, written by their stalwart expert on Japanese cinema, Tom Mess, who used to run the website Midnight Eye, which is really the source for info on Japanese cinema. And rounding out our month here, if you're interested, I suggest you look up books by Tom Mess. That's Tommes. As well as a poster and a bunch of stuff. I cannot wait to watch this. Stephanie's never seen it. I have not watched Battle Royale in years, and I've never seen 2, so this is definitely on the queue this week. So excited that this came. I pre-ordered that months and months ago, which is part of why the embarrassment of riches. Most of these things were ordered. Yes, and I fully, it is a godlike set for sure. It felt... What's going on, dog? How about we just make their dinner time 7 from now on?
Okay.
Do you want to help?
On that.
Okay. Speaking of the Arrow sale, Arrow did a sale for their UK site only, but pretty much everything on there was incredibly cheap, so I picked up quite a bit. Battle Royale 2, yes. Battle Royale 2 is about them going, 2 kids going to the mainland to take on the government. Here's the Phantasm box set. This has Phantasm 1 through 5 in it. I've only ever seen Phantasm 1. I know that these kind of vary. These are very cross-decade. Phantasm 1 is 79, and it's got the dates on here. Phantasm 2 is 10 years later. Phantasm 3 is in the 90s, and then Phantasm 4 and 5 are both directed videos after that. Phantasm 5 was made just 5 years ago. So I'm really excited to dive back into these. Very cool horror franchise. And then, okay, here's my big old box, y'all. I'm going to go through this very quickly. This finally arrived in the mail. The Tale of the Fox. So this is French, as in it's a French DVD. Finally, now that I have this region-free player, I can play this, and I ordered it. This has been on my wish list on Amazon since 2006 when I first discovered it. And I'm going to watch it this week. I cannot wait to finally watch it. This is an hour-long stop-motion feature using actual animals, like taxidermied animals. That is one of the first prototypical stop-motion works. It is from the guy, Vladislav Starovich, who's a Russian stop-motion animator and innovator who primarily worked with taxidermied animals. There's a great little DVD out there called The Cameraman's Revenge. That is a compilation of 8 of his short films that he mostly did with frogs and insects, including one called The Insect's Christmas, which is a delightfully cute little story about bugs celebrating Christmas that I watch every year on Christmas. Cannot wait to watch this. I'm a huge fan of stop motion and animation history, The Tale of the Fox, or Le Roman de Renard. Okay, now let's dive in. Again, I'm gonna try.
Sorry.
June, go lay down, puppy. All right, go lay down, Putch. Bye bye. I can deal with the camera. It's fine.
Go lay down.
If you want to guide her to the couch, I can readjust. Living with a dog is a blessing. Babe 2 Pig in the City. Found this on Blu-ray along with Mortal Kombat for $4 at Half Price Books. Big blind spot for me. Huge George Miller fan. I know this is legendary in the world of kids sequels as a particularly dark and innovative movie that people really love. I cannot wait to watch it. Coming at ya is a 3D movie from the 70s that is not supposed to be good, but it's supposed to be full of gimmicky 3D effects, and it came with the glasses. People don't know this, but 3D televisions, like with modern digital 3D, are no longer in production. They're very hard to find. I never got one, and so whenever I find one with the anaglyphic red and blue 3D, I jump on it because I love that old school red and blue 3D. Alright, and then we have basically a giant box of tapes. Let's go through. I'm not going to show all these off because that'd be too much. Bleeders. A straight-to-video horror movie with Rutger Hauer. The fun thing about this is that it is in this super gimmicky box with a blood bag liquid packaging over the cover. Yes, that is a layer of plastic with blood in it. Bleeders. A big straight-to-video favorite of the aughts. Return to Oz. Found this. I paid 54 cents for this at a Goodwill in Austin. It is a cut box, meaning that the fourth side was cut off and put in this clamshell for rental, but it is the original release complete with, well, you probably can't read this because of the size. This is a warning that says portions of this material may not be suitable for small children.
And that is true.
Very true. One of my all-time favorites, Return to Oz. And then I mentioned that I got to swing by. This is insane. This whole box is tapes. Let's just go really quickly. These were $2 each at Half Price Books. Jumpin' Jack Flash and Burglar, 2 whoopee vehicles from the 80s. Got The Hitcher. This was free from a friend. Got Prince Sign of the Times on tape. This was actually a $10 tape. It was behind the case at the store. Oh boy. These are all three. All three of these were free from a friend. A Louis Buñuel movie that I haven't seen. Let's see if I can. Am I doing it? Did it become my face?
Yeah.
Watch this movie. Andrei Rublev, which is still sealed. I have this on Blu-ray, but it's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And it says on here, Sight and Sound said it was in the top 15 films of all time. Thank you, quote on the front of the box, for validating my opinion. And Army of Darkness, the original release with the best art.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know you got that.
Yeah, because I had the Army of Darkness that was like the bargain bin version they re-put out in the aughts. But I found that, that was one of the ones I got for free from a buddy. And I was like, oh, the 92 release. Hell yeah.
Nice.
Let's see here. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm just going to pick a few more to show off here. I think just these will do. Space Raiders. Never heard of it. Sounds awesome. The tagline says he's 10 years old and they've taken him 10 million miles into space. Look at this art. It is about a 10-year-old boy and a group of space criminals with aliens led by a father figure. smells like inspiration for Guardians of the Galaxy to me. I'm very excited to watch that one. Masters of the Universe, a really fun effects-driven movie. I feel like watching it on tape is just right, is the way you're supposed to do it. Space Truckers, never heard of this one before. I found it in a thrift store for $3. Looked on the back. It's directed by Stuart Gordon, one of my favorite directors. I know Vinit's a big fan of Stuart Gordon's as well. He's the guy behind Dagon, From Beyond, Reanimator. And so this is later output, but excited to see what he did with a straight-to-video low budget. And then a few... Oh, and this one, I don't know if this is worth anything or not, but I just thought it was radical to find a Disney tape in a slip sleeve instead of a clamshell, so I picked it up. Hold on to it for a while. And then 2 sealed ones. Sealed copy of Moulin Rouge. This was free. I just love this movie and was like, that's cool. And this we will open come Christmas time, but this is a sealed copy of Alpha's Magical Christmas, the Power Rangers Christmas special. It says on the box that it comes with a free Power Rangers ornament, which I can only imagine is some sort of origami ornament that's folded inside of the case. So that concludes that. Whew. Almost. Oh. Because I also was able to pick up. Where'd you go now? Did I put it out or slide it in? The eternal question. Because Stephanie and I also picked up a new version of the Neverending Story I did not know existed. This is a box set of both movies. If you know me, you know that I want this movie on every single format it was ever put out on, so I had to pick that up. Stephanie got the original big box copy of Rocky on VHS. That's original big box copy, probably the copy you rented as a kid.
Probably.
And finally, one more sealed tape. This one I found at an amazing video store in Taylor, Texas called Video Station. Go to our Instagram. I made a TikTok with a little mini tour of the place. It is, outside of I Love Video in Austin, the most impressive private collection I've ever seen in real life of movies. And also, without competition, the most impressive private collection of retro games I've ever seen. Like tens of thousands of dollars worth of collectibles on a few shelves. This is a sealed Turtles tape. I picked it up. I'm not going to open it. I just think it's really cool to have a sealed copy that with shrink wrap on it that hasn't been opened since it was sealed in the 80s. And then finally, I lied that we were almost done. I told y'all I went to every single thrift shop I could, and I got hooked up by the homies. Finally, I was able to finally find Leprechaun 2 and Leprechaun 3 on VHS, meaning that I can do this on the shelf now and have a little Leprechaun trilogy to watch every March. Every March.
Every March.
And that, my friends, is actually the ending of... Hold on. No, that can be the ending for this week. Video store blew my mind. Just the selection size could get lost in there for hours. Absolutely, Munson. Yeah, I was in there for quite some time. I was in Taylor, Texas, doing a small role in a movie that I can't talk about yet, but I'm really excited about. It's going to be really cool, and you guys should be able to watch it sometime within the year. So more on that soon, but I was in Taylor, Texas at this really cool studio called Renegade Studios, and these guys told me how to check this place out, and when I wasn't on set, I was at this video store. Pretty much just a horror movie-centric trip. It kind of ruled. And thank you, Wedge. Yes, my Prince tattoo. Good conversation starter I've found in recent years. I make friends with it. It's nice. And with that said, y'all, that's the end of New Arrivals. I'm going to take one quick more hydration break. Mm-hmm. And then who's ready for Movie Club?
I know I am.
I know I'm also ready for Movie Club. I'm ready for Movie Club.
I am ready as well.
Would you go ahead and do us the favor and manifest it slightly behind your head?
Oh wait.
No, yeah, you're good. You got it.
Oh.
Movie club.
Movie club.
I'm glad. It's funny because I don't hear the audio from it, so I haven't heard that robot in a while. But that was like some internet site I found where you could type in the word and then download a robot saying it. Okay, cool. I am so excited to dive into this movie, The Hidden Fortress. Avalon, swear to God, we're going to talk about it next week. We have movie sign.
What?
I just froze. I just froze up.
I just wanted to be like...
Must grease my gears.
Let's start by dropping in the chat if you watched this movie this week. Movie Club, The Hidden Fortress, I think was Great Job Nerd's suggestion. Great suggestion. Your video store clerk is yes, he's broken. Yeah, just let us know in the chat if you watch this movie and we'll get into it. Speaking of broken, the silence is broken. I'm gonna wait. To get into it. Should I wait?
I'll be right there.
I'll just get it started. I'll get this party started YMCA style, you know what I mean? I had never seen this movie before. I'm not gonna get totally into it yet. Obviously this conversation can evolve piece by piece. I feel like I don't really have much to add to the conversation of like why this movie is influential or of value. I just will say that I thought it was fantastic. And that's okay, Holden Wook.
Not like the art of the poster?
I think Holden Wook is saying I did not watch the movie, but I did like the art.
Oh, I get that.
Because I was asking people to drop in the chat if they watched the Movie Club movie. What was I saying? Oh, right. Just that I feel like we'll get into like what, the influences or what it influenced and whatever else. I don't really think I have anything new to add to that or any kind of like deconstruction of this movie that hasn't been said or done before. But I thought that it was maybe like a perfect film.
Yeah, it whipped real hard.
I was gonna say it whipped. It whipped. It was like it gave you so much. It was so yummy. It was like action, adventure, comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. Like, I wanted to stand up and applaud when I finished this movie.
Yeah.
First of all, similarly to Female Prisoner Scorpion, this is another movie that while I watched, it made me like lament the loss of giving more of a shit about movies, because so much now is produced, so much now is shot like it's made for TV. Like it's on such a strict timetable, shot reverse shot. Early in the movie, seeing these guys, seeing our two main characters escape from, because the movie follows two peasants as they basically, they're like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, in and out of the epic goings-on of people who are more politically powerful and richer than them. But we're seeing it all from their kind of comedic point of view.
It's funny, while we were watching it, I was thinking this duo is like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern meets the Three Stooges.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they might as well have been bonking heads.
Yeah, and they were hilarious. Like, they were a great comic duo. But, like, to your point what was your point?
What was my point?
What was my point? How am I not myself? How am I not myself?
How am I not myself?
How am I not myself?
How am I not myself?
How am I not myself? To your point about how this movie had a little bit of everything, and you can't even trace the influences, let's get the big ones out of the way. Clearly, speaking of these two guys, this movie literally opens on them walking through the desert, arguing with each other. It's pure Star Wars. It's pure C-3PO and R2-D2 going, well, you go that way then. Mm-hmm. It's pure... It's that scene. And obviously the idea of a princess on the run, and so many of the plot points, even, like, clearly the original Star Wars, but then so clearly, and the wipes, even the musical cues. So much of that clear, huge influences on Lucas. But even stuff that would become an influence years down the road, like the princess fake out, like the decoy princess getting killed instead of the real princess, that happened in Attack of the Clones.
Good night, Holden Wook.
Good night, Holden Wook. You have a lovely night as well.
Yes,
like
have a
even
lovely night.
Attack of the Clones, like even years down the road, you can see Lucas still inspired by Kurosawa. The other big influence I think we mentioned was Leone, and so much of like the Toshiro Mifune Kurosawa relationship reminds me of Clint Eastwood and Sergio Leone, and so much of that like quiet, tough guy with a wry sense of humor.
Yeah.
But Toshiro Mifune, dare I say it, has more range than Clint Eastwood, and has more of like a kind of like, I don't know, like bandit warrior vibe about him. But you can definitely see like those in, I know what I was saying. Even in the beginning of the movie, we just need to do a quick scene where these guys end up captured in the middle of a war and escape. It's a minor plot point with hundreds of extras dedicated to it. And just like, it makes me lament, it makes me wistful for the days in which movies shot with such scale. And that's another thing with the Leone thing, like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which we watched for Movie Club months ago, also is another movie that's like, wow, y'all like fucking built a world.
Yeah.
There are shots where they're in a town and people are talking, and you just take for granted that an entire city's worth of people is happening in the back. It feels like it was shot on location, and then you have to remind yourself, no, ancient Japan is not feudal Japan is not a location in 1958. That's all artifice. They built those sets.
Just the
Incredible.
scene with the steps, like the amount of coordination and like extras and just pulling that one scene off, which is more or less transitional, was like insane.
It's not a climactic moment at all. It's just there. But the world is so fully built. And, one thing we talked about throughout the month is in Japanese cinema, bouncing around, like, we see the kind of punkier techniques employed as the new wave sets in the 60s and as we approach the turn of the century. And I was pushing for Kurosawa because I wanted to look at this formalism. And, oh my God, like, the way Kurosawa works with tableaus, you always think, like, of your Kurosawa framing. It's like a Renaissance painting. You're going to be able to see everyone perfectly in one wide stationary shot. But the way he manages to do this for action, dialogue, transition, the way it always looks like a goddamn Renaissance painting, like, this is formalism at its finest. This is a master painting a frame for us to live in, with an active background of a world, foreground, and hidden vibes all over. And some scenes go through an entire and emotional beat or entire scene without a cut, because the frame is big enough that we're in the room. We don't need a cut to stay entertained. Yeah. It's like, I think a certain amount of that is formalism in any film tradition. Where does that come from? It comes from the fact that people used to think of movies as filmed stage plays. That is a very natural way that you would contextualize what a movie is when movies were new. But then once people started expanding the language of that, you end up with this sweet spot where people are taking everything that works about theater and expanding it to make it so much bigger. And Kurosawa is just, there's a reason Kurosawa is Kurosawa. I was going to say, like, there's no one, you can compare Kurosawa to anyone. Kurosawa is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, period. Yeah. If not the greatest. So this movie, like you said, the comedy, the action, the fun, the romance, I think not only is this movie a prototype for things like Star Wars and Return of the Jedi, to your point, Wedge, and Westerns from Italy, this movie feels like the prototype for every blockbuster action movie ever made. Afterwards we were doing a quick debrief, just being like, wow, that movie like brought everything to the table, and then you were like, oh, it's a blockbuster. It's like what we would know. What we would call, a blockbuster film. Like just giving you a little, like something for everyone, but done in also like a beautiful artistic way. Which the fucked up thing is that used to be blockbusters. We used to expect them to be done in beautiful artistic ways.
Yeah.
As much as I love Marvel and will watch every Marvel movie, I don't go to them thinking, I can't wait to see what groundbreaking way this action is framed in.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But it used to be that blockbusters, we did demand that of them because we demanded our films to be great. West Side Story's a blockbuster. Casablanca's a blockbuster. Jaws is the original New World blockbuster, the new action blockbuster. Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz. All these big movies are not functionally made. They are made to be experiential.
Yeah.
And I think there's a loss of that in today's film climate, where films... I think that's why when we watch something like Portrait of a Lady on Fire, it smacks you in the face, because you're like, oh, they're making a film. Mm-hmm. They thought that they are artists.
Yeah.
They're not just... They didn't just take some snippy dialogue and fun action scenes and go, over my shoulder, over your shoulder, wide coverage, cut it together.
Yeah.
Like...
It's like enveloping.
Perfect word for it, enveloping.
Yeah.
The scene where they're in the town, I was imagining how Japanese society evolved from people traveling to different vendors to today's Japan, and how you can draw a direct line between feudal Japan and modern Japan. I mean, I don't know enough about Japan's economic history, but I do think it's fascinating that Japan in itself, because it was landlocked for so long, does present a history you can trace among those lines. I would love to learn more about that. The shot where they climb out of the ditch, and one goes to the right and one goes to the left, and the camera just slowly moving backwards to keep them both. Genius. Yeah, and then when Tahei, I think is one of his name, Tahei moves around, the camera just does that slightly, and then it frames the mountain perfectly. It's maybe two small movements. Really reminded me of Fincher, because Fincher moves his camera every time an actor moves. If Fincher's filming us right now, and I stand up, that camera is going to perfectly move with me and back down, which is why he does so many takes, right? Mm-hmm. But it felt that way, just knowing exactly how to keep the camera in the world without... Another thing about formalism and about classical filmmaking that Kurosawa is doing, and that would be carried on in traditions by other classical formalists, such as Spielberg, most famously, is that they don't want you to notice the camera. They are not trying to draw attention to their camera. They are trying to draw attention to the world that the camera has created. That's in pretty stark contrast to something like Lady Snowblood, which is like, look at what we're doing. We're fucking punks with this camera. Those movies want you to know you're watching a movie. They're throwing titles on screen. They're doing crazy movements. It's this punk rock. It's the new wave mentality that happens just as genre cycles become self-aware, so do art forms become self-aware. And I really love, as much as I will always admire punk experimentalism, seeing a master be a master, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I mean, also just want to talk about the score. Speaking of enveloping, being a full experiential thing, the score was so perfectly done. Mm-hmm. And in particular, the Barry sax, I think it was a Barry sax solo that sounded like jazz-like when the two guys were digging the ditch outside of the fortress. I mean, just perfect. Just perfect. Mm-hmm. Ugh. Just all the music, all of the stings and the subtleties of the score throughout this just matches the storytelling beautifully.
Remember when we watched Fistful and Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and you talked about how you wanted to break down the score and the choices? I feel like Samurai and Western are so... I mean, Fistful of Dollars is a remake of another Kurosawa movie. Mm-hmm. Seven Samurai was remade as Magnificent Seven. I feel like you could really write a really extended essay on the use of music in both of these genres from Italy to Japan.
Yeah, and not just music. Speaking of those two genres, it's the space between the music that is perfect. It is the places where they choose silence versus the way that they integrate music is just artfully done.
Now that you're mentioning the score, there's a very unnerving when they're being hunted by the Yahana soldiers are coming through the foggy woods, And there's like, it almost reminded me of the Winter Soldier theme, or like the Joker theme of like the uneasy, sustained note, like Joker in Dark Knight. It reminded me of that when we're watching the soldiers come through the woods. And maybe you know the instrument, but there's a low, just like, and it just like feels like, fuck.
So scary.
It's unnerving.
Ugh, and it matched that visual perfectly that you were explaining, or quickly had an aside about like the ghost.
The ghostly, like, it made me, I'm always also like, Steph, let's watch Throne of Blood, because it's one of my favorite Kurosawas. And honestly, I'm starting to suspect that every Kurosawa, because I haven't seen that many of his films, just the big ones, and I think every one of them is one of my favorites. And I'm beginning to suspect that I need to just do a real good deep dive, and that he'll end up being one of my favorites, period.
Yeah. Throne
of Blood, though, since it's Macbeth, has some ghosty shit, and it also has a sequence in which an encroaching army sneaks in they each cut down a coniferous tree and hold them in front of them. And there's a shot of the paranoid king looking out on his mountainside, and the trees are walking forward. Oh. And it's just like, it's so scary.
I'm trying to think what instrument that might be, and I might do some research and report back later. But I'm trying to think, like, it could be a string instrument, like a really low note on a string instrument. It could be like a horn.
It felt like a horn. Because it felt hollow. I think that's why it was unnerving, is because you know how there's that effect where many times when people think of space as haunted, it's actually a pipe that's so hollow that it's causing a sub-bass effect, which like can cause suicidal thoughts and depression. And I'm wondering if I think it's because of the hollowness of the sound is isolating, and I wonder if that's what's going on there.
Either way.
The use of guns also, it also reminded me of the fact, so I wanted a little historical context for this. It takes place in the 17th century, 1600s feudal Japan. I was like, I always forget how long guns have been around. I always think of them as a 19th century invention, but no, obviously not. How was the Revolutionary War fought? But yeah, they're so, they do represent like even more of that threat, because guns transcend honor, and so much of Japanese feudal culture and Japanese culture, at least in terms of hyper masculine movies about samurai and yakuza, is about the preservation of honor. Note the one general who, upon losing, is furious that he's not killed, because it would be the honorable thing for him to die to his opponent, to his better. But oh man, I completely lost my freaking thread there.
I was on the use of guns, lack of honor.
Guns transcend honor. That's why it's so scary. I think that's another reason why in the context of this movie they become more threatening, because that one extended one-on-one fight sequence that falls about halfway through the movie, it's this incredible fight about men who like have earned their place in these, to reuse the word again, honorable situations. Like Toshiro Mifune's character in particular is a man you can respect. You respect him the whole time. He acts within a moral framework. He is self-sacrificing. He's noble. He's a good person. He's a hero. And to think that our hero, who possesses the ability to fight on a level unlike anyone else, could be undone by any jackass with a gun, really underscores the scariness of what those guns represent to a society driven by honing the craft of defense and of fighting.
Yeah, it also like takes away that intimacy that is like hand-to-hand combat, which really coincides with this idea of like honor and respect.
Right. If you're going to kill me, feel yourself. Yeah. Feel me dying.
Yes. Look me in the eyes.
Yes, we can respect each other, engage in this as men, and know that it's to the death. But that's another thing I loved about this duel. Wedge saying that spear fight. Not only is it cool to get a fight with spears for a change instead of swords, but it is that like, ancient ideal of like noble combat. There's no anger in it. these men respect each other, and they're like, let's duel.
They're friends.
They're friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're friends who work for different sides. God, this movie was just so fun. Also, the princess was so fun. I loved her. Like, what a fun character for such a typically male world.
Yeah, and to speak to the you were saying the obviously the parallels there with Princess Leia, just like tonally and just this, her being like, for whatever the context at the time, like very masculine or very like the antithesis of what you would expect from a princess or a princess figure. And then I'm sorry, is it Momofuke? How do you say his name?
The character? I forget the character's name.
No, the actor.
Oh, Toshiro Mifune?
Mifune. So his character is very much like the Han Solo character.
Yeah.
Of like, just sort of like stoic and angry, but also just like loves to laugh and like wink at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's also like, actually, he's not Han Solo in the sense that he wants to be there the whole time.
Yeah.
But to your point...
But I'm saying like prototypes of like, these personality prototypes.
I agree with you. I'm not trying to punch holes in it. I think he is totally an inspiration for Han. The princess, I said Princess Mononoke. The princess...
That's what I was conflating those two words.
That makes sense. She, like Leia, yes, like she is masculine and not girly in the sense that she's like snaps back at people and can fight and can defend herself, but also brings in also challenges the masculine concepts like codes of honor that might be like, she's the one who's like fuck doing the right thing, or fuck doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, do the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
She's the one, just like Leia, is a spy and someone who can navigate these worlds because she can fit between the cracks of expectations that everyone else is so ruthlessly holding themselves and their enemies to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like they split him into Luke and Han. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she yells the entire time.
Yeah.
Which put it... Part of me wondered, because a lot of people in the older, in samurai movies by Kurosawa yell more. Part of me wondered if that's a holdover from the tradition of kabuki theater, or of live theater, or if it's meant to be a historical accuracy, because a lot of times those lines are delivered way more like projecting than they would be maybe in a modern version. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this movie was just aces all up and down. I can't wait to watch more. Can't wait. It looked beautiful also.
Uh-huh. Oh my god,
this Criterion release was gorgeous.
I was like stunned by how gorgeous it looked and crisp.
I cannot wait to watch Seven Samurai. Wow. If you have any thoughts at home on the Hidden Fortress, I don't know if Great Job Nerds need to take off, but I know Great Job Nerds is a huge Kurosawa fan, so I would be interested in what he thinks would be a good space to go next. But other than that, I think I'm spent on observations here.
Same.
I am happy to talk about what we want to do do we want to abandon theme for a month? Do we want to try and get into Hong Kong cinema, Chinese cinema, or expand to just say Asian cinema? We can talk about some South Korea stuff too. I know Criterion just put out Memories of Murder, which is Bong Joon-ho's Zodiac, how it's known. Also, still some Japanese stuff I want to watch. Or we can totally flip it. We can just let, go back to being a bit more stream of consciousness. I know that I personally have a bunch of Hong Kong stuff I want to dive into, but I'm in no hurry to theme it out on here. In any case, Japanese Cinema April was very fun. I think, having explored J-horror from the aughts like Pulse, stuff like On the Fringe that helped usher in a new sort of Pomo storytelling like Tetsuo, back to seeing, the TNA and violence that they needed to revitalize the industry in the 70s, such as the Meiko Kaji movies we watched, down to the formalism and to the anime we caught as well. I think that overall, the genre movements of Japan are such a interestingly distilled way of looking at, like, we can do this with American cinema all day long, and God knows I do, but I think Japan's politics as seen through its movies, whether or not as a romanticization of the heroes of a past fighting to define what the country would become in works like The Hidden Fortress, whether or not it's a feminist push like the Miko Kaji movies, whether Vengeance is Mine, it's a commentary on the sins of the past and finding a new identity in a post-war, post-imperial society opened up to the world. Who are we now? All the way up to, like, now we have opened up and we're down for every influence. Let's fucking rock the boat. Tetsuo, art style and beyond, criticizing the modern world, the way corporatism drives the everyman into dust. Every step of the way, Japanese cinema is commenting on the Japanese spirit in the political context of its time. I tend to believe, I mean to say, that every national cinema does this, but Japan, because it was isolated for so long, offers us a particularly salient path of A to B to trace the film history with the national mood, with the political history, and is probably my favorite. It is my favorite national cinema worldwide, excluding the Hollywood shit, that outside of the U.S. So, love Japan. Thank y'all for diving into it. Thank you for diving into it, because it's definitely a fixation of mine.
It was a blast. Like, I hadn't really explored too much Japanese cinema, and really happy that we kind of, got to ping pong all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah. Well, word is bond, y'all. What shall we get into next? I will wait. Let's see here. I think that we're still chilling. I thought maybe people had to go to bed, but we're still chilling with a healthy group. Mm-hmm. Hey, thanks for watching, y'all.
Yeah.
It's been really nice being back.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see. Movie club.
So I have a list of movies that you and I have talked about watching. Mm-hmm. We talked about Bruce Lee earlier. Do we want to come across the ocean to China? And do we want to look at mainland Chinese cinema, Hong Kong cinema? There's a big difference there. Really interesting in and of itself. Gotta say that Shang-Chi trailer made me pretty hyped to dive into Chinese movies.
It looks like we got some love for Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee?
In the chat. I'm very down for that as well.
Yeah. Because also we've got some Jackie. Why don't we have a martial arts week?
Ooh, that's fun.
Why don't we try and watch some martial arts movies? Because we got that Jackie Chan movie, The Young Master, we haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee, I'm underseen on. So Bruce Lee's big ones, I believe, are kind of all in that Criterion box set they put out. Did someone just say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Munson. So that box set was kind of the big ones, right? That play the hits. Haven't watched much outside of Enter the Dragon or Fists of Fury. Well, Munson, I've only really seen, I think of the movies in that set, I've only seen Enter the Dragon. I'd be kind of interested in knowing, and Enter the Dragon's also just fun as shit, and also kind of ties in with the fact that Mortal Kombat came out. It was most Americans' introduction to Bruce Lee, so maybe we start with Enter the Dragon. It's one of my favorite movies. It's super fun. But I'm also happy to, I think we'd both be happy to really start anywhere here.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up where to start. We're just kind of doing a little research. Enter the Dragon comes up as the one that was supposed to make him the big name. Game of Death is not supposed to be good because It was partially shot. He died while making it, and it's full of a bunch of filler footage. Way of the Dragon and the Big Boss are often talked about very fondly. This Vulture lists Enter the Dragon as his best one, but I don't know if that's true because I have no opinion here.
I think Enter the Dragon sounds like a great place to start.
Let's do Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do that. Enter the Dragon. Awesome. That's fun. And then, yeah. Munson, if you dive into more of that box set. Now, Stephanie, I apologize because this probably means I'm going to finally buy that box set. We'll see if we can find it on sale. Or I'm waiting for July to pick up all the Criterion stuff. If it's too expensive, I'll wait. Let's see here. Movie Club. Enter the Dragon. And this is an interesting one in particular because it includes... I got to remember my cast list here. Jim Kelly. Because Jim Kelly and John Saxon were these two American martial artists. John Saxon kind of like being the Chuck Norris, like white guy martial artist, pre-David Carradine, and Jim Kelly being like the blaxploitation martial artist, they were both trained martial artists. And the plot is what Mortal Kombat ripped off. So it feels timely.
Exciting.
30% off sale right now, you say, Munson? Where?
Uh-oh.
Stephanie goes, ruh-roh.
Let me go balance my checkbook.
On blank for just May. Why does it asterisk that out?
What is that?
Sometimes my Twitch chat asterisks. Oh, okay, on the Criterion website. Okay, cool. Well, I'll check that out. Generally, Amazon price matches those two. And I would criticize Amazon more if I didn't have a Prime membership and if we weren't actively broadcasting right now on a platform they own. I'd feel a little bit more empowered there. But fighting City Hall over here. Okay, Adam's staff pick and Stephanie's staff pick. Now, Steph, you're right that I always go on theme and that you don't give a shit, and I like that.
I just kind of hop around all over the place, whatever. Usually it's like if I watched something that week or thought about something that week, or if we organically during our discussion something popped into my mind and I was like, that's a great movie, that will be my staff pick.
I'm gonna make The River Wild my staff pick.
Okay.
Yeah, River Wild, super fun.
I'd like to watch that soon.
I would love to watch it this week. We're gonna watch 5'2" after the stream. We do a little Dubby feature with something.
Oh,
but I'm also down to I would stay up way too late watching 5'2", The River Wild, Austin Powers 2.
Yeah.
And let's get a start on it.
Woo! Okay, so I think my staff pick is going to be one that was mentioned in the stream earlier that made me go, oh man, I really enjoyed watching that movie. Good night and good luck.
Oh, hell yeah.
Especially since I just watched the Q documentary and just thinking about media and the role of media and yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, y'all, it's been a blast once again being back. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want to join us in the chat next week, come back, watch Enter the Dragon. We will also watch Avalon. Pathos, thank you for the suggestion. Sorry to sleep on it. I've been one of your two clerks, Adam Protextor.
And I've been your other clerk, Stephanie Thoreson. Please follow us at You Are in a Video Store for updates on shows and behind and BTS, as well as You Are in a Clothing Store. I will be dropping a new installment of You Are in a Clothing Store featuring outfits from Austin Powers,
International Man of Mystery. All right, get home safe, be kind, rewind, Black Lives Matter, watch more movies, and good night.
Good night.
You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. From Lubitsch to Mamoulian, Kubrick to Leone and Corbucci and Suzuki, these movies take you to Newer lands. We recommend it, never pretentious, it's never ending, just where our head is. It's one Kauai and a Slaughterhouse 5. Those Hollywood nights are Hong Kong on fire. I could watch it all night, press stop and rewind. Watch it again, you're strapped in, ain't no stopping the ride. Ask Ginger Rogers the time. Swing down to Broadway and lights. Ishii, Miike, Tarkovsky, Almodovar, Von Sternberg, Dietrich, Garbo, Garfield, Heathcliff with Transformers over on the 80s TV show. You need a hand, we can reach it. Move in silence like Bernal Melly is Mishu. Spending afternoons with Maya, then watch Freddy Got Fingered. It's all love for that silver screen. Now baby, what that TV do? And we here every week too, so don't you touch that dial, bruh. We ain't skipping the previews. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video. You are in a video. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Should we get a couple new releases and a couple old ones? Yeah, no, I think we can get both. We have time. We'll watch them. Yeah, if we don't get around to that one, I'll